Radio. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Feed it. Edie. Missed it. Major highlights from Heidi.
Over and over, the fouls are broken on him.
Lob it up. Slaps and Johnson. And that's what he does to the backboard. Break opportunity. Newton to Diarra. Right down the middle. He lays it in. How about the Huskies? The defensive presence of Caravan. No timeout. Keep playing. Let the party get started. He is one heck of a coach. What an amazing run. It is a UConn coronation. The Huskies make history. Back-to-back national champions.
Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Radio on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're live from the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill on the Pillar Exterior stage on a Tuesday.
Going up
on a Tuesday. And it's going down on a Tuesday as we've got you covered with everything from a team that Creighton beat, won the national title, so that's pretty cool.
Stop it.
What'd I do?
Stop
Is
it.
that not accurate?
Sure.
Is that? I mean, that's the thing that happened,
Just
right?
because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, but that's kind of the story of my life there, bud. I mean,
Why change now? Why change now?
why learn? Why adapt?
Nope, nothing.
You know, that was a game. That was a game that Creighton kind of waxed them a little bit too. They won by almost 20. It was, it's the last game the UConn lost. It just seems relevant this morning.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of.
It is. I mean,
I was like, as I'm watching them just run through the tournament, I was like, man, this team got dismantled by Creighton.
they kind of did get dismantled by Creighton.
Well, I watched Purdue get their tail kicked by Nebraska too.
Yeah, so Nebraska and Creighton played for the national championship last night, and Creighton won.
Man, God bless the transitive property.
Exactly. We love it. It's definitely not fallible in any way whatsoever.
No, foolproof.
It holds true 100% of the time.
Although last night I thought was interesting because at no point was I like, I just thought this team was really good. I didn't.
You mean UConn?
Yeah, there was no individual player that I was like, oh my God.
That guy's so good. No.
That dude is a dude. Like they just come at you in waves.
Yeah.
And it's always somebody. Even when they kick to a guy or a guy's cutting,
it doesn't matter
he's
who
capable of finishing. It doesn't really matter.
It really doesn't matter who it is.
Right? Caravan.
Although out of
Spencer
the group, I'd probably prefer Castle to be shooting threes.
Yeah, but he's an afterthought.
Yeah. The lottery pick is the afterthought.
I mean,
no, you're right. You're right.
I mean, you're watching that game last night.
It's just funny because
he's a nice additional piece. Oh wait, he's their highest rated draft.
He's
prospect.
the lottery pick. Yeah, I had a conversation with. Well, I've had this conversation off and on with our guy Jacob about.
I got to send him some mail this morning
about Castle, right? And I think he's a nice prospect. Now, probably part of his status is due to the lack of depth in the draft this year, because I don't know that he'd be a lock lottery pick in all the drafts. But I look at that guy, like I get he's talented. I get he's got it because he's willing to play a role. He's going to have a long NBA career. I'm not looking at that guy and being like, yeah, I should spend a top 7 pick on him. I've never thought that at any point.
It wasn't. Yeah, you just didn't watch that. Even Klingon looked fairly pedestrian
at times. Yeah, he had stretches where he looked good,
especially early. Well, I thought Edie wore down.
He did. Yeah, no, Edie got tired.
I think, because he was really the only guy that could actually go get a bucket, and he had to work fairly hard to get it. Early, he was just kind of rim running, which it wasn't even really out of the post. The post moves where he had to actually kind of gather didn't look all that great.
No.
But the end-to-end running, you're like, oh, man.
He did have a couple step throughs that were really nice.
Oh, the footwork with the up and under.
Yeah, those were
that was crafty. We're finishing with the left.
And at that size, it's like it's pretty impressive the way he moves, both up and down the court and with some of that footwork. But yeah, I thought Edie he looked exhausted by mid-second half because, I mean, they only took 7 threes that entire game. And I get that was the game plan for UConn. It was like, hey, Edey can score 40. He's not going to score 70, right? Let him eat.
They just couldn't get any chip. They couldn't get any secondary help. Boy, was this game unbelievable. My attention, squall! Cubs and the Fathers. Cubs got 8-0.
Yeah.
Ended up losing 9-8. And you know the beautiful thing about having a blowout last night down the stretch?
Did you watch some other stuff?
I got to watch a lot of baseball.
A lot of baseball in?
Yeah.
I did not get a lot of baseball in. I stuck with the blowout.
I love it.
I like baseball.
We're talking baseball.
That's a different thing.
Fuck.
In Major League Baseball.
I remember. So I had a funny epiphany just now. This is so stupid how my mind works. I remember when I was talking about coming back to radio, and Bill was obviously instrumental, right? Like probably the key cog, and he said something. He goes, either he or we, one of the that's a pronoun, right? He said, "We miss your energy," and I didn't really think much of it at the time, but the last couple of months, obviously, you know, people will say stuff when you're out. It's just at Hy-Vee the other day, and guy was like, "Oh, you know, I'm back into my routine, and you got Ravi laughing and needling you, and yada yada yada." You just said that just now, and I was like, I wonder if this is what he thought he was signing up for when he said energy, because it comes in a lot of different forms.
I knew exactly what I was signing up for.
It's there,
yeah,
but it's like you think he's probably like rolling his eyes, like, "Oh my god, I have 6 more gray hairs."
I think
this dude is a nut job.
I think he's on vacation. I think he's on vacation, so he's probably not listening.
Is he at the fancy place in the South?
I have no idea.
Yeah, he's got a nice little spot down there in the Bible Belt.
I generally don't ask too many questions.
You're a bigwig now. You're one of them.
No, I know.
Well, but yeah, you are.
I don't know.
The one of them.
I'm still new.
Yeah. Oh, you're new, all right.
I don't even know what that
acting brand new.
I don't even know what that means.
Hit Urban Dictionary.
Acting brand new.
Brand new, yep.
Here, why don't you talk for a second? I'm gonna look this up.
Hey, so you know there's the broadcast kind of got away from those guys last night, especially probably when they pushed it. Yeah, you're nodding, you're like, yeah, I see what he means. No. When they pushed it to like 9. And you're thinking, oh boy. Then they got the 2 leaky runouts, and all of a sudden it was 16 and they go to commercial break. What do you think, Ian and the Mr. Buttoned Up Grant Hill, who, by the way, man, his beard is saucy. That salt and pepper little white thing is pretty sweet.
It looks very distinguished.
And Rafferty is all the way nuts now. Like he'll just say whatever.
And a lot of it's not even close to accurate.
I think I like him though.
I do too.
It's the voice, man.
But he's kind of got a lot of late Keith Jackson going on right now, where he's not seeing what he thinks he's seeing.
What is it? An illusion?
No, I don't know. Maybe the
is he Doc Sadler on the mic? I don't even recognize what I'm seeing.
All I know
I
is
don't recognize what we're doing.
There was a couple times where this dude just got absolutely leveled. And he goes, I really sold it with the acting job there. And I was like, he might be dead.
So I can't help but to go back to the whole ball screen thing.
Okay.
Right. So do you know what you see a lot? And it never gets called, and it is actually an advantage. You ever seen smaller guys set ball screens?
Yeah. No, they light people up.
And they push. It's like they don't. Yeah, that right there. Yeah. The little 2-hand shove. Yeah. They do it all the time.
But as long as you stay right here, because what they do,
and nobody ever calls that.
No, yeah,
because you're within the framework,
and because they're little.
I get it,
but you're big.
But you're clearly gaining an advantage. 100%. It's a push.
Here's what I used to do, because I'm 5'9", so I'm not a big dude.
Dang, is that it?
Playing basketball, yeah.
Dude, those lifts in your wingtips are sweet.
Listen, you gotta boost
I would
them
not
up
have guessed 5'9".
Really? Yeah, no, it's like no shoes 5'9". It's like probably 5'10" with shoes, but I don't know, whatever.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
But when I was when I was playing. I used to have them list me at 5'11" in the program.
You're like, dang.
I am not 5'11". But no, when I would set screens, you just got to go from here, and you got to go up here real quick, but you don't extend.
I kind of teach that move to my outside backers.
Right. Yeah, because you got to get the hands out of the way, right? But you go like you're going to set it here, like you're protecting your junk, because that's kind of how they teach you.
Right away, Miyagi.
And then you kind of get up here real quick.
Yeah.
And so it acts like a push, but it looks like you're just covering your chest.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's incredibly good if you're a little guy trying to set a screen.
Patient. I watched Castle do it about 6 times. I'm like, that's illegal. But that's what I was thinking in my head. I'm not talking to anybody
illegal.
Because I lost. Ravi here for my messed up cadence. It is choppy. That's why I like Grace, like cutting up the bending bites. I know you think it's underrated. Like you're like, dude, what's the big deal? She understands my delivery, so when big she deal. Chops things up, it's amazing because she can get she knows my flow.
Yeah.
Because like if you just let it ride, it's like, God, this dude sucks. But when she's like editing,
I don't think that, but go ahead.
But you know what I mean, though. It's like,
not really. I think it's honestly, I think it's one of those things that's in your head more than is.
Maybe that's why I don't leave. Maybe that's why I don't leave voicemail.
Probably.
I'm like, ugh. I gotta do this for a living.
No, I think it's one of those things that you think about and no one else does at all.
Oh, all right. Well,
you know how I mean that is that's how it is sometimes.
So you're back to regular, no longer brand new. I know you. I know you. So I'm watching this deal last night, and they push it to 9, and they go to 16, and they go to commercial break. And I guarantee you, Iron Eagle is probably what he's thinking to himself. He goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm a little loose. I have a lot of catchphrases. Grant Hill is super buttoned up. I have no idea what Raftery's going to say. If we make small talk, am I screwed?"
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
I bet you that's what he was thinking. Because
I'll take it.
Have you ever? I don't know. I've done broadcasts where the game can get away from you.
Yeah,
and it has gotten away from you. Or let's say spring game, right? You're doing like the spring game broadcast or something, and you're like, "I sure am glad I like who I'm working with, because if we have to talk about stuff." Like, this is no, like those are the things that you think about during a broadcast because you want it to be, you want to give people a reason to tune in.
For sure, yeah.
So I'm trying to
stay tuned.
So I want to know I want to know every little thing about every little body in spring ball.
Yeah, you want to have good stories.
Right? So
to
it's
tell.
like
You want to have
If this thing is like, if we're playing 2-hand touch and this is,
you got to be able to turn it into a radio show rather than a broadcast.
Right.
That's
So I always look at things now from like a broadcaster's perspective, and I'm telling you, Iron Eagle probably got a case of the willies.
Oh yeah, it was getting away from him a little bit.
Please keep this thing close. Please keep this thing close. Please. It's like, what are we doing?
Speaking of getting a little out of pocket, already on Twitter this morning, we got Brian. He goes,
Brian,
in the last 25 years, America has seen more total eclipses than the Cowboys have Super Bowl appearances.
Oh, out of breath. That has to be out of breath, Brian.
No,
selfish.
I don't know. Brian T, is that out of breath, Brian?
Did he put it on Twitter?
Yeah. Oh, he just tagged me. He didn't tag you.
No,
so it probably wasn't out of breath, Brian.
Nope. So is he not a Dallas fan, or he is a Dallas fan?
He's not a Dallas fan. I think he was hitting me up as a
because sometimes Dallas fans
there's a lot
make fun of.
There's a lot of self-loathing there.
Yeah, that's a good term.
Yeah. There's a
like the movie in Las Vegas.
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Stop
That's
it.
fine.
Well, Johnny Depp.
Okay. So I told myself this walking to the parking lot yesterday. I'm about over you finishing my thoughts and stuff, especially off air, and saying the same things that I do that are super random. Like, I'm over it. So,
I told you.
And I know nobody puts Ravi in the corner, but you're going to have to get out of here. Like,
I told you we spend too much time together.
It's kind of bugging me now. The random singing of like idle things, and it could be totally off the cuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why were you thinking that?
The weird one was with Shane's name the other day.
This guy?
Yeah, when we were both about to sing Changes, but with Shane's name.
Oh, come on, Shane.
Hey, by the way, welcome back, man. Good to have you.
Why the f is Shane walking
I
in there?
have no idea, but Cam held it down, man. Cam is...
Because he works here. That's why Shane's walking in here.
Cam has very thick skin, and I love it. He does not take anything that serious. Like he just keeping on.
Keeps on plugging.
Yeah, because I was teasing him a little bit, and it's like he's not really laughing, but I think it's because he's dialed. Yep. He was pretty dialed in. He's like, God, I've known DB for double-digit years. I'm over this cat.
I don't even recognize what we're doing here.
I'm just glad he made it through not having the open on the first day.
Oh, yeah.
And so he sat on it over the weekend, Liquid, and he comes back. Was that yesterday?
Yeah.
And he goes, hey, how'd you like the open? Again, that's pretty good. He goes, yeah, Shane sent me some stuff. I was like, yeah, we're one big happy family. We just make fun of each other and keep it moving.
Coming up.
I work hard at school.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. Coming up on the show today, we've got Matt Hladik from thespun.com. He's going to put a bow on the college basketball season with us this morning, even though it ended like 2 weeks ago. So I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah, you did make the proclamation.
Mike J Schaefer from Husker 24/7 will join us at 9.
Why were you panicking over Schaefer?
I wasn't panicking. It's just there's practice availability this morning, and so I didn't know timing wise if that was going to bother his slot. That's all. I wasn't panicking. I just asked a question.
So I wonder how they do that. Right? Is it at 8:40 to 9:20? Is it 9 to 9:20?
I think it's 8:45 to like 9:05, which is why I asked.
Oh yeah,
because
that's
like
kind of
the
wheelhouse
spot there.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really panicking. I was asking a relevant question about our guest booking.
Hey, what are you, the semantics police?
A little bit.
Panic for you may not be panic for me. You know what I mean?
Like at the disco or?
Oh, gosh.
People love the long shots.
Yes, they do. And that was a stretch. well
I mean,
done.
Do you want to talk about the basketball game that happened at all?
Yeah. Listen, what's the oyster thing? And the world is your oyster. Is it your oyster, my oyster?
The world is. It could be either. Depends on whose oyster it belongs to. Probably depends on who ordered them. I'm not actually a big oyster guy.
Okay.
I don't think they're just fine. They don't really taste like anything. They're just salty.
I like them fried.
Oh, I've never had them. Oh, I've had them fried.
Turtles.
I mean, like on a shell though, when you're eating.
Yeah,
them.
I'm not doing that.
Like I don't mind.
I'm not.
There's. I don't get anything out of it.
Not doing that.
Most people just use it as like a hot sauce delivery system.
Shucks has some amazing fried oysters. Shucks is very underappreciated.
I have had some fried oysters. I can do fried oysters.
Yeah.
You fry just about anything. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah. So,
especially a meat. You fry a meat, I'll give it a go.
Yeah. I saw some pork chop bites on TikTok.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Oh, he made them look amazing.
I've seen these like little fried steak bites in like the air fryer on TikTok.
I've done that.
Those look good.
So I'm on this thing where I'm going. I bet you I'm on probably it's over 3 weeks of not paying for a protein at the store.
How you just stealing stuff then or no? No. I don't know what that means.
If I don't have it in the
I don't know what
Boy, you have no idea how much I want to. Well played, Shane. I'm just trying to get creative with what's in the freezer.
Oh, okay.
I just stealing stuff.
Well, you said when you go to the grocery store, that you didn't say you're not buying. You said you're not paying for.
Man,
I mean, talk about the semantics police here. You would say like, oh, I haven't needed to buy protein at the grocery store because I got a bunch of my freezer.
So I mean, I'm like, it's not repurposing, but I'm just getting creative.
Yeah.
Right. So I was looking for things to do with pork chops.
Okay.
Because I have these nice thick cut package bad boys.
Okay.
And he made them look amazing.
Little pork chop bites that you were talking about?
Yeah, but he fried them.
Okay.
And I have pork rinds panko.
Oh, that'd be good. Pork on pork.
So I'm interested in finding ways to use it because I used it as a filler for meatballs because I didn't want the whatever you call it, the breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm like, now I bought this thing for $4.69 online, Instacart at Walmart. I'm gonna use all $4.69 of this.
Oh, of the pork rind.
I want to put them in my hand and just eat them.
So do it. You're an adult. Nobody's stopping you.
Yeah, but I'm making chicken skins.
You know what I've done
as like my snack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got this at Costco. They have this.
Where's it again?
at Costco.
It's Costco.
Costco. Costco.
All right.
Where you
Maybe.
you got Costco because I got
Yeah, well, like where is that? Like, did you all of a sudden you hit a different dialect on me?
got Costco.
A little twang in it. Shania.
I am from Nebraska.
Okay.
So they've got.
Hey, I don't know if you heard this, but the reason we have so many call centers is because we lack a dialect.
There's like 1 billion call centers in India. What's their dialect?
Yeah, we at some
You think
point
they don't
at
have
some point when we really get comfortable with one another, we're gonna have to talk about
They don't have an accent over there.
Bro, do you know how many? I gotta say this. You cool with this?
I mean, I can't promise you're gonna have a job, but you can.
In my head,
Yeah.
I want to hang up and start over.
Oh, I've done that.
I can't function.
Yeah. No, like,
and I feel like if I say pardon, people will be insecure because you may already be thinking like, oh God, like
you think the call? You think the
yes,
person,
yes. So you don't want to be like.
listen.
Sometimes I just want to say, "What'd you say?"
Can I say this? They're a call center person in India talking to American people. People ask them, "What did you say?" 100 million times a day. You can say pardon.
I always, because
that's
it's just my personality,
that's a you
right?
thing, not a them.
It probably is.
No, it 100% is.
It is because
they literally
I don't want them to feel bad.
What do they feel bad? They're getting paid either way.
Yeah, I'm like, dang, can we try this again?
I mean, I'll be honest. As an Indian person,
like, will they
I will.
I can't even get confirmation numbers, and I'm like, it's got to be a me thing. So then I take them off Bluetooth. I put my phone in my ear like it's all of a sudden going to be different. I'm like, but anyway, I don't even know why I said that. It's thinking out loud.
It's dangerous. No, I've hung up and tried again. 100%. I have.
Okay. I don't feel bad anymore then.
It's
not that it was
speaking of self-loathing, there's people probably think I've got a little, but there's some times where I'm just like, I don't, because I didn't grow up in India, right?
Mm-hmm.
My mom.
You don't say.
My mom's white. My dad's from India. He came over here in his 20s, 30s. I don't know. I don't really know how old he is.
As a fashionista.
He came on a male fashion visa. And
I gotta look into that.
And then he's been in IT for 50 years. So I don't know how that works.
You think I could make like Belichick hoodies fashionable in other countries and go somewhere on a fashion visa?
Make some money. Where are you trying to go?
Thailand.
Why?
So I follow this little dude on.
Just get TikTok. A passport and take a visit. You trying to move there?
No.
So you don't have to get a visa. You may get a travel visa. You don't have to get a work permit. Like that's a different thing.
Oh, okay.
You can just get a visa to travel.
Yeah. So he's young. He's like in his 20s, and he's been in Thailand for like the last 4 years, and he feels rich. So I want to go to Thailand so I can feel.
Yeah,
rich.
There's some like places where you can feel rich on what you make now.
Juice probably isn't worth the squeeze just for the economic advantage.
Nope, prob's not.
A lot of give and take.
There are some drawbacks there. Sometimes you can't drive to certain parts of the country because the road's been washed out or something.
There's certain parts of this country I can't go either. So it's neither here nor there.
Can't and shouldn't aren't the same thing. It's called a sundown town. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're probably going to talk about the national championship game at some point, although, the season ended 2 weeks ago, so I'm not sure why we're talking about it now.
That's not true.
The team that Creighton beat won the national title. Dan Hurley, still super unlikable. We'll have all that and more coming up on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
It's the best 2-year run, I think, in a very, very long time, just because of everything we lost from last year's team. To lose that much and again, to do what we did again, it's got to be as impressive a 2-year run as the program's had since prior to whoever did it before Duke.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube on the Pillar Exterior stage. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. That voice you heard is the most unlikable man in college basketball, Dan Hurley.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody agrees with that.
Very good basketball coach. Let me just start there. I'm not denying his acumen at all.
Did you find it?
Except for when people say that he's the most complicated offensive mind in the sport.
I try to pay a lot of attention to that, man. I think
it's not that hard. It's not that complicated.
I do agree that the action is overstated. The proficiency in which they operate
incredible
is spectacular.
The execution and the intensity of the execution without wavering is off the charts good.
Hey,
the action itself is not that complicated. Now, if we're like grading on a scale of what the rest of college basketball does, then maybe.
Hey, what was the name of that show? It was kind of a sci-fi, and the people were traveling in the South, and there were aliens. Was it Warcraft County? Is it?
Lovecraft County.
Yeah.
I didn't see that, but I'm familiar with what you're talking about.
They had sundown towns.
Yeah.
It made me think of that. Is that weird? Yeah, okay. Anyway,
so I mean, it's a real thing. You gotta be careful out there.
Stop.
It is.
Did you find it interesting? Did you look at Bobby Hurley when he was on the panel before the game started, rocking the ASU gear, and you're like, it takes a lot of stones because they probably want to fire you, but I love how you come on and have really good conviction to support the family thing.
I mean, what else are you gonna do until?
That's pretty good, though.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Because sometimes I think I'd be like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I just dress like a regular person.
Oh, maybe just wear a suit like an adult. But...
You know what I mean? But I mean, it was like proud as a peacock. I'm repping ASU. But again, what? I felt like there was a certain like. I didn't take some. You ain't think. I didn't think about it. I know I'm weird.
No, it's fine. There was so I had a moment where I was like,
every year I wonder if he's going to keep his job.
Yeah. So I guess the only thing I had is I had a moment where I go, wait, did he get fired? It's weird he's wearing that. And then I was like, oh no, he hasn't been fired yet. Like, so that was the moment that I had was it's weird. Like, it's weird that he's wearing the gear of the school that just fired him. And then I was like, oh, they didn't actually fire him. Great.
I did like how he said, because I don't know if there was anything that our kids could do, my parents' kids could do where I would like challenge my dad's supremacy in the house.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting, or that's a serious discussion at the dinner table, who the best coach is in the Hurley household now. And I was like, wow. Because the question was posed.
Well, I mean, it's certainly it's certainly not Bobby.
You guys will always be number 2 in the household. And Bobby was like, I don't know. Depending on what happens tonight, we may have to have some speaks.
I mean, Danny probably has an argument for it. Bobby certainly does not. I mean, that's not even a question.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Remember
hard.
Once upon a time, we thought that was an amazing hire.
Yeah, it seemed like it in the moment. It seemed like it was all right. Honestly, it got more fanfare than Danny getting hiring at UConn.
Yeah, it was kind of, oh, by the way, because what he's done, and it sounds ridiculous to say out loud because Connecticut in the last 35 years has been an amazing basketball 30 years has been an amazing basketball program, but it still stores Connecticut, and we don't talk about it like we do some of these other fictitious destination places like Bloomington, Indiana. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which I'm sure people are banging down the door to live in.
I'm just saying, like, that's a school that gets a lot of buzz, but their best year is so yesteryear.
Indiana?
Yes.
No, I mean, we talked about this yesterday. I don't know that you look at Indiana as a place that you go necessarily to win national titles anymore. I don't think of it that way. I'm not saying it's impossible to win a national title there because, I mean, 25 years ago, people looked at UConn as a place you couldn't win a national title probably, or, you go back far enough, 30, 35 years. But I don't look at a place as like, hey, if I want to win a national title, I need to get to Indiana.
Listen, you have to change the way that you look at UConn. Based on your criteria yesterday of multiple coaches at said school?
Yeah, they're a blue blood.
Well, that's the third different coach.
Yeah, I don't really count Kevin Ollie, but it's the second for sure.
How can you not count him?
Because he kind of has like the Barry Switzer Cowboys title.
Oh,
they were really good.
Were they?
Pretty much until the end with.
Were they?
They won a title in 11 and then again in 14. Like there wasn't a huge gap there. That was his second year. The only reason they had any fall off is because they were on probation. Like he had a really good roster already.
Okay, you think so?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I looked it up yesterday because I was having this discussion with myself.
His best player was
Shabazz
Napier.
Yeah.
He
was a really good college player. That's fine.
Time out. We just knocked the hustle of one Jay Wright because of not the ready-made NBA guys.
Who knocked Jay Wright yesterday?
You didn't knock him, but we took it down a peg when we were talking about, God, he's kind of a guy that has some like late first rounders.
All I said was that doesn't play at Kentucky. That's all I said about Jay Wright.
But hang on though. So
because Kentucky wants lottery picks.
No.
Yeah, they do.
Yes and no. Kentucky wants to win.
Yeah.
They've had a lot of good players and nothing to show for it.
That's-
I'm pretty sure that fan base would take some lowly 3.8 stars and some 4-star guys and get out of the first weekend.
That's literally what I said yesterday, though, is they want to win, but they want to do it with the lottery picks.
I
don't know that you can survive doing
Cal
it.
made it that way.
Maybe. I don't know that you can do it Jay Wright's way at Kentucky. That was what I was saying about Jay Wright.
That's fair.
I have the Jay Wright's one of my favorite basketball coaches of all time.
You just like the way he dresses. That doesn't count.
I also like the way he coaches.
Oh, okay. That's
because
good. You like his hair?
He did it in a way, and this is a huge bias on my part. That's fine, but he did it in a way that I think is replicable at places like Creighton.
Yeah, but he did have good players.
He did, but he wasn't going after the highest possible stars that he could get. He was going for the most talented guys that fit what he wanted to do, which, to Hurley's credit, is something he does a very good job of, because the most complicated thing about Hurley's offense is finding the guys to run it, finding the right guys to run it. Because as much as I don't think it's that as technically advanced,
did you see the way those guys practice?
Yeah,
you know they did. And I don't know if that was just for the camera,
yeah,
but allegedly,
allegedly, I don't know what that is.
Guys tell you, their guys will say games are significantly easier than practice, which that's what everybody aspires to do. A lot of guys just won't put their teams through the grinder to get there.
Yeah, it's because, so it's every time I hear somebody say that, the first thing I think of is the teams you played on, because that's what I hear from everybody that played in Nebraska in the mid-90s.
And ironically, that's one of the reasons why that would not be my most favorite coveted time to go back to in my life.
Yeah, because you were getting your butt beat in every
I
day.
just don't want to be on every day.
Yeah, it's hard. When you're constantly competing, that's really hard.
But I really am, though.
Yeah,
I'm terrible with. I'll compete at stoplights, right? We know the stories are endless of the dumb gamification things that I do to get by on a day-to-day basis.
But were you like that before?
No,
you weren't like that before college. So college
and high school,
way.
I was extremely competitive, but
you didn't do stuff like that.
No.
So
it was important for me to be the best, though, but it wasn't I didn't work very hard.
Yeah.
No.
In high school?
No. I'm so mad. No. I would go back to high school yesterday and do it again.
And work a little bit harder.
Just to be remotely gifted and not maximize?
Yeah. Which as a coach, that's something that drives you crazy now.
Dude, as a 50-year-old, it's something that drives me crazy. I'm dead. So I told the story of not being. It took me 2 years at Nebraska to be willing to walk around without my shirt on. That was a real thing. You know how traumatized I was? There was a much easier way for me to do that. How about just go work? Right? How about eat better?
Well,
how about no? I'm telling you. I'm telling you, it's hard to get people to do that every day.
Yeah,
we were walking off the field in a playoff game. One of the assistant coaches, and this is a good school we played. He said one of the things that you cannot replicate that we watch on film. Your guys play so hard for 4 quarters. Doesn't matter who it is. I said, yeah, come to a practice. It's hard to get guys to do that. It's not. I'm telling you, Hurley. You got to give him some credit for that.
I do
terms
for
of
that.
Their execution.
I'm just not doing it for the X's and O's. I don't think it's that hard.
You're such a hater.
We'll have more Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. will be back. We will be back. We will be back.
But I got to say something about this UConn team, man. They had no holes. They can play big. They can play small.
It is a UConn coronation. The Huskies make history. Back-to-back national.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
It is a UConn coronation. The Huskies make history. Back-to-back national champions.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even wrap your mind around it because you just know how hard this tournament is. What a special group of people, a special coaching staff, an incredible group of players, the best group of players you could possibly do it with. And UConn, UConn is a special place this time of year.
We're wrapping up hour number one here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's TV. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. What you just heard there was Piece of Human Garbage, Danny Hurley, UConn head men's basketball coach.
What the world is wrong with you, man?
I genuinely do not like that guy.
I get it. It comes up once a week.
And not just because they're good or because whatever. Like,
I know his wife is legendary for laundry, but what if she just like made you a salad, like, and invited you over? Was like, hey, I think we're misunderstood. Let's break bread and talk about this.
I would be open to a conversation, but I've seen without a one-on-one conversation with Danny Hurley, there is no like puff piece or whatever that anybody can write or put together on CBS.
Isn't there a part of you that admires?
Oh, I think he's really, really good at what he does.
He's fantastic.
Incredible. Maybe the best guy going. I also think he is potentially a genuinely bad dude.
Nah.
I've sat behind his bench too much.
No, I understand. And his family revs high, right? I mean, that's the East.
And I don't like that just in general. Like people that rev super high, that's not for me.
Yeah, but they weren't. I think you don't like people that are just edgy, like
that rev super high
that have those chips.
I don't like guys that I always feel like are about to explode.
Oh,
I am not about that.
You couldn't be around Coach Samaji 2 minutes.
That's fine. I don't work for him.
And he's fantastic.
No, he seems like a good dude, but he doesn't seem like, that's what I mean. I don't know if Hurley's like that in his daily life, because there's some guys that are, right? Like we were talking about Coach Pelini yesterday.
We get emails about emails.
Okay.
Seems a little over the top.
Yeah, probably.
But it's just part of
I'd rather have an email that could have been another email versus an email that could have been, or that shouldn't have been a meeting. But no, there's guys that are that way in competition, and maybe that's Hurley. And there's guys that are like that in like every aspect of their life. I have a really hard time with people that are just like that all the time. I don't want to be around those people because it's too chaotic for me. I don't like that.
Just doesn't fit
my personality.
Got you.
And it always feels like I don't want to have to feel like I'm walking on eggshells around people.
So
in order for them not to go.
But what if that's your own insecurity, right?
That's fine.
Because sometimes I think that's what it is. That's what I always felt about guys like PJ Fleck. Now, PJ Fleck may genuinely be I don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy, but it never bothered me that he carried himself a certain way or comes off a certain way because of the results it yielded. And he was looking for guys, or he would try to get guys that could vibe with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because whether you like him or not, pick another Coach Rule.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a certain amount of emotional capacity to be around Coach Rule as a player and as a staff member. So all their coach,
you know what? I don't think Coach Rule ever.
They have their thing, right?
You
hear some of these Dana Altman stories.
Sure, super intense guy.
Yeah, revs high.
You know what? I've never seen or heard Dana Altman do. Seen or heard Matt Rule do. Seen or heard just about anybody else. And I've sat behind a lot of benches and I've been around a lot of coaches. Is a head coach of a Division I basketball program screaming profanities at children behind the bench.
Yeah, well,
that's a pretty tough hang.
I'm not going to be dismissive of it. It just doesn't
And I'm not talking about an isolated incident either.
Because I don't think he's saying, "Hey, 12-year-old, bleep you." I think it's just. I think he's a fighter by nature, and his teams fight. That's all. I think his discernment in the moment. And I'm certainly not condoning cussing at kids. What I'm telling you is we're making it seem like it's intentional, that it's at a child. It's just his personality. Because in those moments, I'm telling you, yeah. It's not like he's like, "Hey man, was that the voice of a 14-year-old, or was that the voice of all he hears is what he hears?"
Okay.
Right? So it's like,
So why is he turning around in the first place?
Oh, that's just a weird hill to die on when you're looking at his team play the same way, and we appreciate it in his team.
I'm not taking anything away from his team. I'm not taking anything away from him as a basketball coach. I have known a ton of coaches personally. I have sat behind a ton of benches over the last decade at Creighton games and at other places. He is the only guy, only adult, like non-player. I've seen a few players do it, right? He's the only coach I've ever seen turn around, not just turn around and talk to fans in game. I'm not talking before or after games, right?
You lost me.
Okay, that's fine. He's the only coach I've ever seen in game.
I'm about to get you a box of Kleenex if you don't knock it off.
During game, turn around and not just talk to fans,
but
tell fans to go bleep off.
Okay, but do you understand this phenomenon of fans that go to games just to heckle players? Are you cool with that?
No, I'm not. But I was if the fans were out of line, I would add that to the story. I'm sitting there hearing what they're saying. Are they giving UConn a hard time? Yes. Are they doing anything that deserves the head coach to turn around and tell them to go bleep themselves? No. We're talking about different things here.
Do you know how difficult that would be, by the way? Man.
Yeah, well, somehow literally every
exactly.
Somehow literally every other coach manages to restrain themselves.
Nah, that's not true.
Everyone I've been around.
You should see how some of these guys cut players. You should some of these
Yeah,
conversations.
there's a reason I don't like Dion either.
Man, I get it. It's a difference in style and like delivery.
My man.
That's a good pull, Shane.
It's hard to separate that kind of success from the lifestyle. Are some guys and gals better at turning it off? Like Lisa Bluter, for example.
Mm-hmm.
She has some mannerisms and says some
Sure.
things where you're like, oh, like we heard the fame hot mic with the pressers.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. Like part of that is what makes her a really, really good coach. And so I
think we're excusing too much.
Yeah, I don't, man.
Like we're always talking about like higher, like holding people to higher standards and stuff like that. Like we can't hold them to a higher standard when it comes to the way they act.
Or like we could not be so sensitive.
I think it's asking too much for a head coach not to turn around and tell people to go bleep themselves during a basketball game. During a game. I'm not talking about before or after. I'm not talking about when he's heading back into the tunnel and the student section is hitting him with whatever they can. I'm talking about in-game.
I do think
that's asking too much.
I don't know about too much, but it's a super fine line when you watch a team play and execute. Okay, so this is really my point. This is
would UConn be worse at basketball if he didn't tell fans to go bleep themselves?
But I don't like the isolated context to prove a point because I think it's not the totality of the picture, right?
Okay, so give me the totality.
So people are really good at isolating examples for their own confirmation. But let's just talk realistic personality traits.
Okay.
When you watch this basketball team play,
mm-hmm.
They defending champs. They lost 3 guys to the NBA. They're all logging minutes in some capacity, right? So you get some new guys to step in.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down, coach of the year. They play a certain way.
It's one of the best coaching jobs I've ever seen.
He gets guys to play a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
They could have easily been resting on their laurels and saying, hey, defending champs, we're this. No. What did they do? It was like Emerald, right? They kicked it up a notch.
Mm-hmm.
They took it to a whole nother level with a little seasoning, and it totally made them who we are. You're the same guy that just said, man, I don't, and I'm in agreement, and I'd love to talk to Jacob and who else are you little DeMarinis about this offensive action. But anyway,
which is pretty simple.
Jacob runs better stuff than that, and they're both good. I'm not diminishing his offensive sets. What I'm saying is
they're not crazy.
It's the level of execution,
mm-hmm.
right?
And the intensity at which they do it.
So it's like people would come to Nebraska,
mm-hmm.
okay, and we'd tell them the difference between veer, dive, power, roll, trap,
mm-hmm.
and we'd look and they'd watch our offensive line come off the ball, right? Down block, pull, kick, whatever. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh my gosh, man, it's a thing of beauty to watch. Do you know what it really is? They play hard,
mm-hmm.
right? Like their level of execution has a really, really high level. There's lots of people that can pin and pull or get out and pull a center or have a right tackle on counter sweep, block a guy in the open field. No, there aren't a lot of people that can do that. But when you practice that way
mm-hmm.
and you demand it that way,
mm-hmm.
it looks aesthetically more pleasing than it is. We never got more excited about people running trap,
mm-hmm.
11-19 or whatever it is, or 32-38 because of how hard and how well it was executed. Didn't make the offense any faster. Now I say all that to say, back to Hurley's personality, that's part of the magic. That's part of what he does. You don't get that lifestyle without him in it, right? Like you don't get UConn to be UConn without.
Okay, hold on. You just brought up another example. How high did Tom Osborne rev?
Listen, he's also the same guy that would roll a clip in practice and embarrass the heck out of you without saying a word. I'd rather he say a word. Say something. Yell at me. Don't just say, hey, man, well, since you didn't bother to get off the bus, why don't you go stand with the rest of these guys? I'd rather him say, F you, that's not a very good performance. Go sit your brown behind down. That's just,
I mean, that's fine.
You know what I mean?
But Hurley's way isn't the only way to do it. That's my point.
I'm not mad at it.
You don't have to rev that high to coach that way.
I'm not mad.
We will be back. Yo. Yo.
Tip the hat to them. They were great. Danny's done a fabulous job. Obviously, going back-to-back now.
Yo.
Tip the hat to them. They were great. Danny's done a fabulous job.
Yo.
Tip the hat to them. They were great. Danny's done a fabulous job. Obviously, won back-to-back national championships. And congratulations to UConn.
Into Hurrdat Sports. Yo.
Tip the hat to them. They were great. Danny's done a fabulous job. Obviously, won back-to-back national championships.
We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Tip the hat to them. They were great. Danny's done a fabulous job. Obviously, won back-to-back national championships. And congratulations to UConn.
Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're here on the Pillar Exterior stage. We are joined now by Matt Hladik from The Spun to talk about college hoops. Matt, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great, guys. Always a pleasure to be on with you.
Appreciate it, Matt. Did you anticlimactic, or were you like, you know what? I'm going to take a moment to appreciate the greatness of this run.
Maybe it was a bit anticlimactic, but I have to say it wasn't unanticipated. I thought going into the tournament that there were only a couple of teams that could maybe challenge UConn. And they just were never challenged. Honestly, it seemed inevitable from the very outset that they were going to win it again. And I think that last night you saw a Purdue team that pretty much all year had been either the second or third best team in the country, whether you wanted to put them at 2 or Houston. And they were consistent. They had experience. They had the best player. They have a really good coach. They have all these pieces, and they never really threatened UConn outside of the first maybe 10, 15 minutes. And that really felt like more of them, Purdue, doing everything they could to just stay in the game and be tied or down 2 or whatever. So I think it was just expected, and I think it is something you have to tip your cap on, the way that they were able to dominate the last 2 seasons.
Matt, it really seemed like UConn's game plan defensively was kind of to do their best on Edey, but to really make sure they didn't get going from the 3-point line, assuming that Edey wasn't going to score the 70 points it would have taken to beat him, basically. Is that really we've seen teams double Edey a little bit. We've seen them try different things. Is that really the best way to approach a guy like Edey, is just say, hey, you can get your 35, 40 points. Nobody else is getting anything?
When you have somebody that can, kind of either bang with him down low, or you're willing to let him get his and kind of limit the rest of the options, it is a huge help. I could say from just the regular season, not this past one, but the couple of years prior, my alma mater, Rutgers, beat Purdue a couple of times because they had a center that was able, in Cliff Amore, who was able to defend Edey and do a good enough job there, and they were able to kind of leave him on an island and worry about the other players. I think that UConn did a phenomenal job with that last night. Purdue, for all the talent that they have, or as good of a team as they have, I should say, they don't have a lot of individual talent in the backcourt. I thought Braden Smith, I saw him taking some criticism after the game. I thought he did as good a job as he possibly could under the circumstances. He was the only ball handler they had for 40 minutes.
Listen,
and
we just argued about this off air before the show started. I am 100% with you. And some of that is UConn's ability. Sure, they pressured the ball and they were dogged, but when only one guy's bringing the ball up the court, I didn't understand the criticism at all. I thought under the circumstances, they had 9 turnovers as a team, and Braden Smith only had 1. Like what were we mad at Smith for?
I mean, listen, you could look at it and say, oh, he shot 4 for 12. And
they were 1 of 7 as a team from 3.
I know. And he didn't play particularly well against NC State. However, the thing is, NC State also pressures the ball pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Braden Smith's 6 foot or so. He's bringing the ball up against Tristan Newton, who's 6'5", Stephon Castle, who's 6'6", going to be a lottery pick. Diarra, who is a pest defensively.
Long, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this is a kid who I think if you're a Purdue fan, you got to look at it like Zach Edey gave us everything he could and was great. Braden Smith basically played his behind off for 38 minutes, and there was no help from anybody else. UConn did not allow Lance Jones or Foster Lawyer to do anything to get any open looks. And that was the difference in the game, really.
Yeah, that's a great point, because statistically, UConn only had 8 more field goal attempts. Purdue only shot 7 3-pointers. They were 1 of 7, but it's not like UConn lit it up either. They were like, 6 of 22. The disparity in the numbers doesn't match, in my opinion, statistically, the disparity of how the actual game went. Was it just simply about kind of what you just said? They're not getting enough. Was it good shots? Because I don't know about in its totality. Again, only 8 fewer field goal attempts, but they didn't. It didn't seem like how were they going to score?
I mean, 7 3-pointers. I believe I saw a stat last night that was the fewest attempts in by a team in a national title game from 3 since UCLA when they won it in 1995, which is a completely different era of college basketball, when the 3 was not as prevalent. It's just different times. I mean, 7 attempts from 3 in a college game is startlingly low at this point. But I think it kind of speaks to how UConn defended, and your other point about UConn's numbers being, just being normal on when you look at them just raw data. I tweeted something last night in the middle of the game. I said UConn is currently 4 for 16 from 3. They finished 6 for 22, like you said. Alex Caravan hasn't scored, and Cam Spencer missed 7 straight shots before he had hit a drive where he had like an up and under scoop shot, and it didn't matter. They were up 10, 12 points at the time. Whatever is not working for them on a particular night, it doesn't matter because they can do whatever they need to do to win that particular game. If they're drilling threes, well, then they're going to be on fire and they're going to blow you out of the water. If they're not shooting well, like they didn't really shoot well, at least in the first half against Illinois, and last night they didn't shoot it particularly great, it doesn't matter because they're just going to lock in defensively and and Klingen's going to play great like he did against Illinois, or they're going to get things going to the basket like they did last night. They can, or hit the offensive glass. They got 14 offensive rebounds. They can just do whatever they need to do.
Yeah. Coincidentally, the difference in rebounds was almost the exact same number as the difference in field goal attempts, right? They produced +7 in rebounds in its totality. You mentioned the offensive side, and they had 8 more shot attempts. So because they went to the foul line less. It's hard to get your mind around how they do what they do at such a dominant level without it just being like staggering stuff. But maybe it's just their ability to just go all Windex and clean the glass they get every 50-50 ball too.
They do, which I think is a testament to Dan Hurley, and I think a testament to the type of players he's brought in and the type of culture he's instilled, because that a lot of that, obviously you have to have the size and the athleticism to do it, but a lot of that is want to. And a lot of that is just desire and smarts. Like, you look at Cam Spencer, he's grabbing rebounds. He's 6'3", lifted at 6'4", but he's always in the right spot. Tristan Newton had 3 offensive rebounds. How many times did him or Castle go above guys that were the same size or bigger than them to pull the ball down? I mean, the offensive rebounding thing really keyed a couple of big baskets for them late in the first half, early in the second half, when they started to gain some separation. It's just a testament to, I think, the fact that they're willing to do whatever it takes.
We're talking with Matt Hladik from thespun.com. Matt, can I make the argument that it's not really one individual thing that UConn does so much as just the unwavering consistency that just sort of chokes the life out of people? Because you look at these stats, like DB was saying, it looks like, man, this looks just, you ignore the points, it looks like this should have been a 4-point game either way.
And there was like 12 minutes left in that game where you felt like Purdue doesn't have a chance.
You're like, yeah, this thing's a wrap by the second media timeout.
It's like, what is going on?
They're like a boa constrictor. They just choke the life out of you.
I love it.
I was on Slack last night with a couple of my colleagues during the game, and it was a 6-point game at halftime, and I think UConn scored maybe the first basket or two of the second half, and I said, this might be over by the under 16. And it lasted a little bit beyond that, but like you guys just said, by the 12-minute media timeout, it was a wrap. It was a coronation at that point. You were just kind of waiting for UConn to just finish the job. And I think the way that you described it, Damon, was with the boa constrictor is true. It's just they choke the life out of you. And I think that it's just the maddening consistency is a great way of putting it, because their execution is consistent. Their effort is consistent. How they defend is consistent. And I think that is just something that you don't necessarily get too often in this modern era of college basketball, where there's so much roster turnover. There's guys leaving for the pros after 1 year, guys playing 3 or 4 different schools. The fact they were able to do that at such a high level, basically for 2 full seasons, and definitely in the tournament for 2 years in a row is just magnificent.
Yeah, man, it's an interesting dynamic because around here, obviously, the vitriol and disdain for UConn is at a high level. I mean, he had some of his famous incidents at Creighton. He revs high as an East Coast guy, but conversely, on the football side here, Coach Rule is an East Coast guy who revs extremely high. You constantly have to be on, and we'll probably embrace it. How much of what we see in Hurley is just simply the fit of his personality and where he's from versus him being in Storrs, Connecticut, and that being a match? Because he's a lot like his predecessors. He's a lot like Calhoun, no nonsense, who's given some cringeworthy interviews, tough on players. Kevin Ollie, even for his coached by, in that culture. And Hurley is another extension of it. It's like, I think fit matters here more than almost anything.
It does. And here's the funny thing about it. I've known Danny Hurley for 30 plus years. And off the court, he's hilarious. He's self-deprecating. He's always got a good one-liners. He's
figures,
has a personality that you might not see when you look. It appears incongruous to his sideline personality. But I will say this. Yeah, like you said, it is kind of reminiscent of Calhoun and predecessors of UConn, but that's the way he's been since he started as a head coach at St. Benedict's in New Jersey. He's always had that intensity. He's always run hot on the sideline during games. It's just that's how he is. I mean, that's how he coaches. Has he turned it back a little bit? I think in recent years he probably has, but that's his personality, and I think that UConn fans have embraced it. Obviously, they've embraced it because he's won big the last 2 years. But I think it also fits in well with the ethos of the program and with the fan base, because here's the thing. UConn's been the most successful college program in the last 25 years. They've won 6 titles. I think the next after that in that time frame is Duke's won 3, Carolina's won 3. So they've won as many titles as Duke and Carolina combined in the last 25 years. But they still are not at the blue blood level. If you were having a cocktail party with all the blue blood college basketball programs, all the college basketball programs, they're still a little new money. And they still kind of have that. Danny Hurley says, we're a little grimy in Storrs, Connecticut. So I think that
I love it.
His personality, while he had it before he took the Connecticut job, fits in so well with the fan base and so well with the culture up there. That's why I'm sure Kentucky will try to move heaven and earth to get him. I can't see him leaving.
One more question on UConn here before we get to that Kentucky subject. I've been thinking a lot about this because of the way the last 2 tournaments have gone, where UConn's really not been challenged at all. And if I'm not mistaken here, the only game that UConn played in the non-conference that wasn't a double-digit win was the loss to Kansas, whereas they had 7 single-digit wins in conference play and 2 losses. How much does familiarity matter when you're playing UConn? Because it seems like there is a dramatic difference.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, too, last year, I believe their only losses were conference games. I think they went 13-7 in the regular season, then they lost in the Big East semis. So they've only lost 1 non-conference game, including the NCAA tournament, in 2 years, which is insane. I do think familiarity matters because of just how intricate their offense is and how many things they throw at you. Listen, it's very tough. You really can't stop it. You only kind of contain it or shut off certain parts of it maybe. But I do think that familiarity does matter. I think that just the nature of conference play, where you're playing it at home on a Saturday or Sunday, and then you got to go to Creighton on a Wednesday midweek, or they lost at Seton Hall on a Wednesday right before Christmas, where you have to make some, different trips. That also, just the ebb and flow of conference play also plays a factor. But it is true that 2 of their 3 losses this year were in conference play, and the team that really probably played them the toughest this year in the 3 meetings they had at least 2 of the 3 were St. John's. St. John's lost 3 times to UConn, but they lost by 4 up in Stores.
7.
And was it
7
or 5 or something?
Yeah, it's a small.
It was 5 in the conference tournament. They lost by 13.
And pulled away a little bit late.
at
St. John's, but 2 of their 3 were within single digits.
Single digits, yeah. So they played them tough. I mean, there is something there with familiarity.
And I'm not in one of the rare instances. I agree with Ravi here about the intricacies of their offense, because I hear this a lot and I watch it, and I always go back to how hard and how disciplined they are within that said system. Because on one hand, we're using the word intricacies, but in another vein, proof of concept is out there, where if you can see them multiple times, it's not the concept that's overwhelming, because they haven't had as much success the second time around or with the familiarity. It's still all about their execution and how hard they do it. Right? Can we say 2 things at the same time? Can it be intricate yet they don't have the same success in conference?
I could see where your argument is there, where they have a little bit more, where you have some more familiarities. There was a coach that said it. I don't know if it was, I can't remember who it was, or maybe it was like an anonymous coach that was used for like a feature during a tournament, saying that it helps to have them in conference and be a little more familiar with them because of what they run. Mm-hmm. But I do think as much as what they run is outstanding and creative, and it's different in a lot of ways from what you see from other college teams.
They just don't sit still. The action off,
yes,
the actions off just simple ball screen actions. I mean, it's just like everybody's always a viable option.
The off-ball actions, the way that they're able to just constantly move, and the unselfishness where everybody averages double figures.
That's what I think.
But nobody cares who scores. Like, it's amazing, because here's the thing. You know how you could have, everybody. You take a team like, I know, Damon, you're a UNC guy.
Yeah.
RJ Davis was their big gun all year. He wasn't their only player that could score. You know, you had Cormac Ryan would have his nights, and they would go inside the Baycott, and Harris Steeple was great. But RJ Davis was their main guy, and they would, when they needed something, for better or worse, they went to RJ Davis. Mm. And with UConn, anybody can get them a bucket when they need it. On a given possession.
So I guess full disclosure, right? Not to talk out of both sides of my mouth, I can appreciate when the ball goes into clinging at the elbow, and I get 2 cutters and 1 flare screen and 1 action. Like, that's okay. It looks cool, but it's not. It's what I would want everybody to be able to do away from the ball. If they dump the ball down to Baycott, conversely, I know Ingram's going to run out to the 3-point arc. Davis is going to look and maybe hope to get it back if he gets the double. I don't see guys just doing things away from where the ball is to give themselves a chance. I don't know if that makes it as intricate as much as it makes you discipline in what you're doing.
To me, I think their off-ball scheming and their off-ball movement and what they do is the biggest part of other offense, what makes them so tough to guard, and it's what makes them so different from a lot of other teams. Because there's other teams that have good players. There's other teams that run good half-court sets. Purdue runs great half-court sets. Creighton, out by you guys, they run really good half-court sets. Nebraska, Fred Hoiberg runs excellent half-court offense. But it's just the combination of the players they have, the discipline, and the belief in the system, and the unselfishness, where there's never a playoff for anybody on offense. They're constantly moving. Spencer's constantly moving. Caravan, Newton, all these guys are just constantly going. And they got a kid in Stephon Castle who was a 5-star freshman who bought in from day one and completely, sublimated himself to the team, and that is really tough to do.
Matt, real quick, got a couple minutes left here with you. You mentioned you don't think Hurley's going to end up taking that Kentucky job. As you look at it, who is, in your mind, the most likely candidate to take that job? We saw Nate Oates say it's not going to be him. I think Jay Wright said it's not going to be him. Who are you looking at as kind of one of those guys that this is probably where it's going to go?
Looking at, the names that have been thrown out there and the guys that I think would fit, I think it has to be somebody who was won before. I think it has to be somebody who's used to dealing with the pressure cooker that you're going to get. I mean, I don't know if anything can totally compare to Kentucky, but if you if you've coached in an environment that there's a lot of expectations and it can be, there's pressure on you, I think it'll work. I think Scott Drew works. I do think, I think Billy Donovan, if he really is interested, there's some reports out there that he is. I think he would work if he wants to come back to the college game. There's some other guys after that I've seen mentioned that might be a fit. Bruce Pearl, Tommy Lloyd, if you go for Arizona, him from Arizona. But to me, I think
Arizona, you may be getting more of the same. The ability to get a lot of good players, but man, they struggle to close Lloyd has struggled to close the deal.
And that's the thing. Whoever is stepping into this job is being put on to the fire to win big right away. Because I said this, to someone this morning, if Dan Hurley left for Kentucky, if Dan Hurley stayed at UConn and they lost in the second round next year, people would say, whoa, it's a shock. But he's bought himself a little bit of goodwill, I think, with the fan base. They could say, okay, maybe it's a little rebuilding year. We'll reload. We'll be right back, in 2026. If Dan Hurley goes to Kentucky for $10-12 million and loses in the second round, the BBN is going to be up in arms. We brought this dude in. He's won 2 championships. We're paying him all this money, and he can't get out of the first weekend. And it's a situation where they have to win big right away.
That's Matt Hladik from thesun.com. We appreciate your time, Matt, and I guess enjoy the offseason now that it's officially here for college hoops.
Yeah, and with the transfer portal, there really is.
Good point.
Off season from games only, I suppose. Matt, we appreciate your time.
Thanks, Matt.
Anytime, fellas.
More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next on the radio.
AM 590.
There we go.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're halfway through the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. See, I remembered what station we're on this time. We're
Progress,
live on
baby.
Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's DBM Ravi Lulla on the Pillar Exterior stage, and we're brought to you by our friends at the Omaha Supernovas. Supernovas return to action on Saturday. They are on the road, but you can check them out on YouTube. There's a link at supernovas.com on their schedule page to follow along live on that one, and they'll be back in town Saturday, April 20th at 6 p.m. CHI Health Center. Make sure you get to supernovas.com to buy tickets, check out some merch, get whatever information else you need on the team. That's omahasupernovas.com.
Apparently, you got some folks that agree with you on Hurley.
Yeah, I mean,
I did appreciate Matt's insight of somebody that's known him for 30 years because, you know,
that's fine. Listen,
we see 0.8% of his life.
That's fair. I do want to clarify.
Like butter?
That's a different thing, but yes.
Some people call it ghee.
I
cook with ghee.
Like Guy Lafleur?
Like Willie McGee.
Oh, I was going hockey on you.
I wish we could. Oh, boy, am I excited here coming up. Ooh, playoffs.
I will say, yes, the incident of swearing at children is isolated. The incident of him acting poorly is not isolated. It's literally happened every time that they've been in Omaha.
Yeah, well.
So, that,
a lot of people give the energy they get. I know that sounds like he should be above that.
Okay, but
standard.
But doesn't that go both ways? Like, if he's giving off that energy.
Sure.
Like, maybe that's why.
I know one thing.
It took him about 8 trips to Omaha to get an FU Hurley chant.
I know one thing.
What's that?
You cheer for a guy and you have a lot of affinity for a guy that revs extremely high. And if you think that his East Coast flair and his tough guy persona doesn't permeate almost everything he does, then you're being hypocritical. Because I'm telling you right now, would Coach Rule ever say F you to the fans? I don't know, but I guarantee you he thinks it, right? So whether somebody has the self-control or the wherewithal to not say it in the moment. But you see him talk to officials sometimes. Do you see Coach Rule talk to officials?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So other guys used to talk to officials like that, and we were like, oh, man, it was the hat swinging where I drew the line. Coach Rule does a very good job of sugar and spice. He can get in you and bury you and give you just enough sugar where you're like, man, this dude's pretty good. It's a generational thing. I need a little thicker skin so he can keep me from being entitled.
Okay.
We rally around it. If we don't like it or it's adversarial, it's, man, this is bad. Like, you cheer for a guy that revs high. You can barely stretch without intensity at Nebraska, right? But it's like, hey, that's what they need, man. Caring, not coddling. That's what we love.
And I have no problem with the
way.
But
we have this imaginary distinction because he said a curse word to the fan base.
It's not. I have no problem with the way Hurley coaches his team. You can't interact with other people the same way you coach your team.
Okay.
They didn't sign up to play for you. That's a real thing. And I'm not supposed to give. Not supposed to give.
You can do whatever you want though, Ravi. But you move the goalpost because here's the thing.
I'm not supposed to give Rule credit for having self-control. In those situations that Hurley doesn't have.
From what we've seen, you don't really know. That's my point. You don't really know.
And if
you don't really know,
and if Rule did that, I'd be disappointed in him too.
Because if
he's out there cursing out fans, I would be disappointed in Rule too.
Do you tell people how to once people buy their tickets? Is all bets are off or because
no.
Okay.
No.
So we're basically talking about self-control in the moment.
Yes.
Doesn't matter how isolated it is or isn't. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So if it does matter that it's isolated, we're making these sweeping and listen, this turned in. I'm not trying. You got to hear my heart. This isn't a defend Bobby Hurley thing. This is a we don't know enough thing. We don't know enough. Right? Like I just saw it in the YouTube comments. Somebody thought that this was like a direct correlation between like talking about integrity. Like
I have no idea how he is.
Where are we going with this?
I have no idea. I have no idea how he is as a person.
We're talking about 0.00001% of the time you see this man in his life. We don't know how he is on campus. Somebody else just said, well, if he was losing, it wouldn't be tolerated. Really? Like how do we know how he is? How do we know? Is this the same guy that's pretty funny in his interviews that jokes about doing hand wash laundry? Like, so what if he had a bad moment? What if he has bad moments? Sometimes I think it is completely unrealistic, or we're too sensitive to make sure that somebody operates a certain way all the time before we make these sweeping generalizations. It appears to be pretty sweeping. Right? Like, I get it.
Sweeping because I see it every time he comes to Omaha.
Okay.
Like this isn't a one-time thing.
I'm just saying.
Like every time he comes to Omaha, he acts this way.
It
appears that he acts this way when he's at other places.
I just don't think you can pick and choose whether we're for or against somebody when we gravitate towards their personality. And that's kind of what we're doing.
I get that Coach Rule revs high, and that I don't see them as similar personalities at all.
Yeah, well,
I don't. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Coach Rule is a different person than I don't know him. I don't know Hurley.
Or maybe Hurley's different.
Maybe, but if Coach Rule acted the way Hurley does, I'd be disappointed in him too.
Okay,
like it's not. I wouldn't excuse it from Coach Rule, and I'm not going to excuse it from Hurley.
We both agree Coach Rule's a pretty good guy. Right, obviously.
As far as I know,
fantastic,
I have no idea.
Right, I'm like, hey, if anything happens to me, man, take care of my kid. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, I know he revs high, and I know he's gonna say some things. Dude, sit in a meet. Like, I'm telling you, man, you'd be shocked.
I don't think I would be because I don't have a problem with the way Hurley coaches his team.
Okay,
I'm fine with it being there.
So, but you're more comfortable trying to tell me what kind of person he is.
I'm not telling
one you know way more about. And that's his coaching.
I'm not trying to tell you what kind of person he is. I'm trying to say I don't like how he acts.
Okay, that's cool.
I don't know what kind of person he is.
I'm cool.
I don't know what kind of person Coach Rule is. I really don't. I've never had a conversation with him. I've never shook his hand. I've barely been in the same room with him.
Joel says he just wants him to stay the heck off the court.
Hey, me too. Him and Shaka. GTFO. Get off the court.
There's a lot of coaches like that, bro.
Yeah, a lot of them aren't playing defense. A lot of them aren't going out and touching a guy as he's like, what are you doing?
See, wait. Okay.
Like I get like that goes to your point of him not being able to compartmentalize because he forgot he's not at practice.
It's personal though. You're making it personal.
I don't like him. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
That doesn't mean he's a bad person. I have no idea. I don't like him. I don't like Shaka Smart either. Maybe he's a great dude. Maybe he gives a lot to charity. I have no idea. I don't know. Still don't like him.
That's cool.
Like, that's all I have.
Let's get to Michigan Lance real quick. Michigan Lance, good morning, man. What's up?
Good morning, boys. How's it going?
What do you want? Good morning to you, by the way.
Yeah, I hear you getting after the DB. Hey, nobody can have a one-off, huh? Nobody can have a one-off, and
apparently not.
It's not a one-off when it happens every time he's here.
Apparently not. But anyway, you almost
it's not a one-off when it happens 8 times. Like that's not a one-off anymore.
Oh
what are we doing?
I don't know.
You can't call it a one-off when it keeps happening. What's your favorite thing? Hey, once is a fluke, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a trend, 4 times is half his time in Omaha, so 8 times is every time he comes to Omaha.
So he represents defending his team every time they go on the road.
Hey, if that's how you want to put it.
No. Now, see, there you go. It's not how I want to put it. What if it's just the way that it is? Don't make it about me.
I am making it about you because you are putting intention behind the way he acts. You don't know that that's what he's doing.
Pot, meat, kettle. You're talking about his delivery defines who he is. That's the epitome. That's the epitome of doing what you just said.
I haven't said anything about whether he's a good or bad person. I said I don't like him.
We still don't know why. Michigan Lance, what's up?
Does he cuss out Creighton fans every time he comes?
I mean, literally every time.
Okay. All right. What's up, Lance?
All right. Anyway, hey, man, I'm looking at this game, and I'm thinking of DB, and I'm like, man, just play hard, guys. Just play hard, Purdue. You can't be one guy playing hard.
Yeah, Lawyer had his soul snatched, didn't he? About 6 minutes into that game, I don't think Lawyer wanted to be out there.
Some guys aren't about that life.
Hey, man, right. Hey, when you meet somebody that's what they say when I don't know the saying. I got so many sayings going on, but basically when you meet the man, are you the man till you beat the man? And it's like guys were standing around watching Edie get rebounds. I'm like, but UConn, everybody's active. Like everybody that played in that game was active, and the only one was active for Purdue was Edie, and that was disappointing. I thought Purdue, this was their year to break through, and they were tougher than that.
Hey, if they would have won, you won the whole bracket, right?
Oh, yeah. I came in second. Even though I had the most correct.
Yeah, by far.
Right, exactly. Well, that doesn't make sense. You still lose, even though the person won the national championship.
Yeah. Points per round, man. It'll get you.
Man, he says you're not the man till you beat the man. I guess Creighton's the man. Congrats on the title, Creighton.
We will be back. We will be back. will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Wrapping up hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube here at the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, the Pillar Exterior Stage. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla, and we are brought to you with the reminder that using your seatbelt saves lives and prevents injuries only if it's worn properly. Make it click. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. Want to switch gears here, get into a little bit of Nebraska football because we're about to talk to our guy, J Schaefer, here at 9 o'clock. There's going to be some media availability to watch practice from 9 to 9:25 as well. So we'll have some more for you on that tomorrow. But I wanted to start going a little bit group by group here and getting into some of the stuff you saw at the coaches clinic and some of the open media sessions that we've had already. And I wanted to start with running backs because there was a comment that Sam made yesterday. You've been kind of hinting around it a little bit with this position group. And Sam said, basically, I'll sum it up here. He hasn't heard the things you'd want to hear about that group yet. Mm-hmm. You know, I feel like Coach Rule's pretty upfront about guys that he thinks are playing well, guys that maybe need to step it up a little bit. Haven't really heard either necessarily from that running back group, which is maybe more concerning than him calling guys out. I know it's not the entire group is healthy, but I guess what are your concerns about that group as it is?
I wouldn't start with concerns as much as just like an assessment.
Okay.
Right. Like, I do think it's interesting, right? Because this happens every offseason, right? Now a name that we're hearing emerging is Mazuka, mm-hmm. right? And people feel like, oh my gosh, walk on, what's going on? You got to get that out of with this coaching staff, as best we can, you're going to have to remove how people came in or what they came in under as kind of like the catalyst for your thought process. So
whether they're a 5-star, a 3-star, a walk-on, a transfer,
yeah. So like if
freshman,
you look at
whatever.
For instance, we talked about a guy the other day. This was at practice. Michael Booker Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing talent,
mm-hmm.
good size, runs well. I mean, he's a dude,
mm-hmm.
super good natured. But what's what's holding Michael Booker Jr. back? Well, it's a mental thing. It's just because you came in as something doesn't mean
that's who you are.
That's who you are. That's why names. See, I'm big. You give that meaning. You give the name meaning, and as long as you can control that, like life is good. Just because somebody calls you something doesn't mean you have to own its traits or what they intend it to mean for you. Move on, right? So for him, it's like, you don't have to think like a quote unquote walk on. Like you belong. You belong. You're highly explosive. You're pretty fast. You're at a position in which, if you want it, go get it. Right? Those linebackers. It's like, hey man, like you see Bullock. You see that target. Go be like that guy. That guy gives 2 cares.
Or like
so
like a Bly Hill. He's a FCS transfer, right?
Yeah.
Kind of a no-name recruit.
Yep.
But they really love his talent, right? As opposed to getting back to the running back group, Dante Dowdell.
Yeah. So
4-star, highly touted.
Yep.
Comes from Oregon, a place we respect, as opposed to St. Francis, a place we can't find on a map, right? Like but Dante Dowdell, Bly Hill viewed equally coming into the staff.
Yeah. So it's like, and you hear. I just kind of try to watch and then hear what I hear and then see what happens at pressers, right? So everybody's kind of had, not everybody, a lot of guys have had their moments, right? A week ago, Sat was like, man, Dowdell really runs behind his pads. He tries to run through a guy's face. So then you go watch that, or you hear Coach Rule or somebody, I'm going to say Coach Mack. You'll hear Coach Rule or somebody say, hey, man, Emmett, great run. Way to put your foot in the ground, or, Mazuka or whomever else. Would you love to hear a guy just be the guy? Sure. But we have to take this with in its context. You're going to need 3 or 4 guys. You want 3 or 4 guys engaged. You could need 4 or 5 before it's over. So you're not going to make any sweeping judgments because I think everybody has their thing. Gabe Ervin Jr. coming back from injury, we don't know enough. Now, does he look yoked and pretty fantastic, running around on a bike and jogging and all this other stuff? Yeah, right? Still coming off an injury. Ramir Johnson has got the shoulder. He looks amazing. Ramir, to me, looked bigger than me. Maybe it was just because he had pads on or because I'm whatever. But, I stood next to EJ, and I kind of know what he's about as he's continuing to evolve. I've seen these guys. So I think I say all that to say, when I'm just looking at the position, will they have a bell cow? I mean, maybe, but more importantly, I think they want a style. I think they're looking for a style.
For guys to run a certain style.
Get behind your pads, put your foot in the dirt, and get downhill.
So get what the blockers give you. Or no?
Good question. Good distinction. So, for instance, like if I take an individual back like Dowdell, very good when he has an opening.
Sure. When they create a hole, he's downhill, runs really hard.
He's probably like right now, he's a guy that's gonna he's gonna take what he gets.
But he doesn't meet your eye because he needs more to go right.
I need a guy, give me a little more vision.
You like guys that don't need as much to go right.
Maybe can find a backside crease a little easier, stuff like that. So that's just
Dowdell needs things to go according to plan.
Again, not that linear right now, right? We're asking best case scenario. I'm not limiting anybody because guys.
No, but as we currently state, that's all we know. That's all we can go off.
Yeah, but I still wouldn't say that, though, because that's not really what I think.
Okay.
Right? He's very good with a crease. That's when I see his explosiveness.
Okay.
I'd like to see it when you have to make it or to generate it, or once you get out on the edge, like dealing with a defender. Because it's not always going to be clean. Okay? So, conversely, EJ, it's like, all right, it's been ingrained downhill. Well, you're a pretty gifted runner too. So occasionally, sprinkle in a little improvisation.
Okay.
Right. With Mazuka, it's like he's got to grow into it a little bit too, because he's kind of pigeonholed. He's kind of been in a position where he's a certain kind of back, a little scatty, a little third downy, something like that. So if you're looking for more well-rounded, then he's got to diversify his game as well. So I think they're looking more for right now, and it's early because I watch those guys work, and I think it's more about taking on their coach's personality. I do, because I think Coach EJ, one's EJ. So let's just go with Coach Barthel. So you don't confuse EJs. He's a tough guy. He's a no nonsense guy. He's a straight shooter. There's a standards guy. What's important for these backs is how does the culture fit with my skill set? I know I got to have a couple things. I got to be smart. I got to be tough, and I got to get downhill. So of all those, then I have to look at my natural skill sets. Am I a vision guy? Am I an edge guy? Am I want to deal in space? And how can I incorporate that culture? Because it's like anything else. It's like when you go to get a job, you know kind of the environment. It's where do my skill sets fit in which I can either enhance or I need to work on, right? So it's the same thing with these guys. And I think the offense has changed a little bit in terms of its concepts with different quarterback play. So they're still evolving to it. Would you love to just go get a one package guy? Sure.
A 3-down back, do whatever you need him to.
But so do a lot of schools in college football.
Those aren't super common.
So I don't know about concern is like I'm worried. Questioning watching the evolution of it is kind of where I'm at with the backs. But he throws a bone. He's thrown bones to almost everybody so far.
In terms of guys that are participating in spring.
Yeah, if you're just listening to like kind of what coaches are saying, right? Because even if guys gifted talentedly, from a talent standpoint, maybe it's his grasp of the playbook.
Sure. Maybe he's a good runner. Maybe he doesn't pass pro that good yet. Maybe he's
100%.
Good runner. Maybe we don't trust him as a receiver yet.
So I think right now, until you're waiting for the perfectly wrapped gift, you got to play the guy's strengths.
Yeah, you got to mix and match a little bit.
Yeah, which is what I think they're doing, which lends itself a little bit to why you maybe haven't seen or just heard one guy emerge. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the way I look at the group is a lot of options, not a lot of answers yet.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's better to have options than not.
You got a redshirt freshman too, who, they like quite a bit too.
In Ives,
yeah.
I mean, like I said, a lot of options, not a lot of answers. I wouldn't say I'm concerned because I do like some of the guys in the group.
Some I like better than I like him. I like him in a ton.
Well, you're with our guy TK on that one. He's been banging that drum on Emmett for a while.
I know people are like, oh, my eye gravitates towards certain styles. I like EJ because he doesn't. You don't have to micromanage him.
Yeah,
he's gonna go get it, and he's used to not being the guy, so he doesn't need the constant feedback either. Like he's gonna go get it regardless.
We've got Mike J Schaefer from Husker 24/7 coming up next here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube here on the Pillar Exterior stage. And we are joined now by one Mike J Schaefer from Husker 24/7. Schaefer, what's going on?
Oh, just I don't know, awake, alive. How else to greet this Tuesday morning?
Hey, rough parenting night from a sleep schedule, Schaefer?
Yeah, we've had a lot going on over here for the last few days, and so I've been taking a lot more of the overnight shifts and the sleep before you have to get up to then to do the feeding, and then you got to get them back down, and then you got to go back down, and then the sleep after. It's not super quality stuff, and so I don't even know how coherent I was when I answered the phone at 8:30. I had just gotten up like right before you had called, and so I'm about.
Well, everybody was kind of panicking, and so I was just like, I'll just call.
I'm good. Hey, you remember the days where
I do. Yes, I do.
I would answer on the 8th ring, but I'd still get there. I feel like I'm pretty good about letting people know if I'm not going to be available.
My favorite thing about what you're getting ready to go through is the fruit that you get on the back end. Like you'll be able to function on a lot. You'll be able to function on a lot less sleep, and you'll need a lot less quality food until you get the younger heads out of the house and you can start enjoying good food again. So for about the next 15 years, you'll be able to sleep whenever, however, and eat whatever, and you'll be better for it.
Yeah, well, that's nice. I used to think that I didn't need that much sleep, and then there's just a massive difference between 4.5 hours with no child and 4.5 hours with the child for the other 19.5 hours of the day. So turns out I was incredibly arrogant, which shouldn't surprise anyone that's ever listened to me.
Guys,
about
this
my
all
own
sounds
abilities.
Terrible. Like it sounds like the worst. hey, you're gonna go. You're gonna stop eating good food. You're gonna start
at least hot food.
You're gonna stop functioning on any kind of sleep schedule. And it's gonna
no
be
longer about you.
It's gonna be like that for about 15 years.
That's on the low end.
Like, no, thank you.
Hey, hot take, or you could see this when Coach Rule says, you know what? I'd rather have guys at practice than at games. I know this may be a little controversial. He said it, and I was like, zero controversy at all if you believe in your product.
Yeah, I mean, I think most coaches feel that way. The guy who shows up for the game, like, you can't count on him, right? So you're going through, and for most of us, the game is what you're paying attention to, and that's, where someone could flash, and you don't get to see the Sunday through Friday. But if someone's unreliable Sunday through Friday, how in the world are you supposed to feel good about them on Saturday? Regardless of how they have shown up in the past, like, playing when the lights turn on sounds really, really nice. But for the people who have to put together the game plan and, for the other 10 guys on the field to be able to rely on someone who has been missing, if you will, or just hasn't shown up when his name has been called just because it's practice, like that puts a lot of undue stress and undue burden on everyone else. And so, yeah, I totally understand why guys who tend to play that fans aren't excited about are also guys who show up and do it Sunday through Friday. Like, you earn those opportunities. You earn the chance to be out there on Saturday. You don't just get to be out there because the lights shine brighter and you happen to excel in that moment. Or what it seems to be, you might care more, which means you're willing to put forth the effort to then do the job, but they need that the other 6 days of the week. Like, it's about consistency.
Which is interesting, because that's how he's kind of geared the recruiting, right? Because that's what was the catalyst of the conversation was, I'd rather have recruits come to a practice in a game. Like see how we work, see what the regimen is like, see what the rigor is like. And he said this, whether he's in a high school classroom in Omaha or to the media the other day at his presser, like, that message is consistent, because I think he not only wants to show his staff off, he wants to make sure that you're okay, or at least know what you're getting into when you watch the level of intensity and what's expected of you once those whistles blow, and it's not the fun stuff like a game.
Well, I think people have a tough time understanding this, but if you ask recruits, like if you ask your son, or if you ask Christian Jones, or if you ask whoever over at Westside what they get out of a game day visit, it looks good on Instagram, but you don't get to spend as much time around the coaches. You don't really get to experience. I mean, you're sitting up in the stands, like, you get to experience the environment and the atmosphere, but, and this might be shocking, you don't get to do that as a player. You're not out in the stands during the game. You're not tailgating before the game. Like, you're involved in the operation. And so practice gives you the real chance to watch these guys work, the real chance to see how your position coach responds to stuff, a real chance to see what it is that you do on the days that you spend most of your time at the University of Nebraska. I mean, if you add it up and you're a 4-year player and you happen to not go in the transfer portal and Nebraska happens to play in bowl games again, that's 52 games that you get. You have a lot more days, Sunday through Friday, that don't have a game, that you have to be involved, that you have work to do, that there's, things going on that aren't those 52 days. So I've never understood, and I think coaching has evolved around this. I've never understood the idea that Nebraska's game day visits are better than when Nebraska recruits off season. And all the statistics back this up. They get more commitments. They get more time with coaches. They talk about it on the back end every single time. They want to spend time around the people that are ultimately who they're going to spend time around. You can't do that on a game day. Like, it's nice to have a coach actually come out and say this instead of the previous few coaching staffs where it's like, well, we want to showcase the atmosphere. And I get it, because the fan base at Nebraska makes a big difference. But ultimately, that's not who these people are 6 out of the 7 days of the week.
It's interesting, because I think Ravi was the not the first, but up there when we were talking about recruiting calendars and dates that are important, whether it's a summer, a winter, February. And I kind of had my stance, and he's like, nah, well, how about, June, right? It gives you, and he had this was early. And so I thought about it. And at first blush, I was like, well, what about, that's going to contradict everything that we've thought the last 15 years about the game day experiences, right? Because remember when people used to make excuses for Nebraska recruiting, it was, well, we can't get kids here for games, but man, when they come, we sure can lock them up. So, gosh, we have got to get them on campus. And somewhere quietly along the way, it's turned into, we need to get them on campus, but it may not matter when.
Yeah.
Let's just get them on campus. It seems to debunk all the myths that we've had for the excuses of why we struggled over the last 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Ja'Cory Barney. You were able to beat out Miami for Ja'Cory Barney, and he came in June. He didn't visit for a game day until after he was already committed to Nebraska. I think that's a pretty consistent thing. Now, they will say, and I believe this is from every coaching staff, going back to when I used to talk to Ross Ells about it. The key game day visit isn't when they're seniors; it's when they're juniors. It's when they're, they can get there and then they're standing on the sidelines and you're one of the first programs that they've gone and visited for a game day, and you just have them, right there, and then you build that relationship off of it. But by the time you get to your senior year, an official visit on a game day is almost kind of wild at this point. Guys have already locked in their spots or whatever else it is. So it's kind of rare to see someone who, is like, oh, I don't want to do my visits in May and June. I want to do them in September and October, because the other part of all of this is they have their own lives going on where you're busy during high school football season. You're busy as a senior, taking the 48 hours to go to, a remote location to go watch a football game where you only get to spend a few hours with the coaching staff, and most of your time with the recruiting staff is less valuable to you than if you go in June and you can be there and you get to hang out with Marcus Satterfield or Garrett McGuire or Tony White for a lot longer of a duration, because they don't have a game to get ready for.
Unless you have time machines, apparently, like Mooberry and Christian Jones and some of these other guys that, man, it's impressive that guys get on the hump, but you're right, because they're doing it in the off season.
Yeah, you can't do it in the season. I remember initially covering this, and the big joke was if a guy said that Nebraska was going to be his 5th official visit in the season, he was never getting there, because by the 3rd one, he was committing to somewhere else, more than likely, because it's really hard to do 5 official visits in the fall and also play your own football season, if you care at all about your own team. And then that's a red flag if you're a coaching staff. Like if you have guys that are basically just can't wait to skip out on their team to come to your game day experience, that's a little bit concerning too.
We're talking with J Schaefer from Husker 24/7. Schaefer, have you looked at all at the correlation between guys that visit/commit during game days versus visit/commit during off season, and which guys end up transferring?
No, I haven't, because the game day visits are so few and far between now. I think we're in the last 3 cycles. I'm doing this off the top of my head, but the last 3 cycles, I think you're close to having 65 to 70% of your class done, before September. So it's the numbers aren't particularly helpful there, because a lot of the times the guys that are going to be committing on game days are guys that haven't had as many opportunities. So they're just grabbing the opportunity that's directly in front of them. So if we were to break that out, I would imagine it'd just be hard because everyone's transferring right now. So that is something I can definitely take a look at and just use the last 3 years as an example, as to where things are at. But with a coaching change in there and all of that too, probably have to get to the end of the spring cycle and see what happens in the month of May with the transfer portal first. But there could be something there, but it also could just show you that guys are transferring at a really high rate, regardless of when they commit.
Yeah, because I guess part of my thought is, I'm going back to this quote that Matt Rule had, and I don't remember when it was, but he talks about how you can't really fool guys anymore when you're recruiting.
Yep.
And I feel like the game day experience is like the dating version of the grand romantic gesture. It's like the getaway weekend to Mexico or whatever, whereas you will go and visit practice and like, hey, this is just the day-to-day. We're just hanging out. And one gives a much more realistic version of life together than the other one does. And I'm wondering if the guys that commit after game day visits get to reality and they're like, oh, this isn't what I signed up for.
Yeah. We're doing it in reverse order, Schaefer. Like he's going to do a quote-unquote official after he's already committed to mainly do the periphery of the school stuff, the registry, like just the devil being in the details, stuff that not the actual meaningful stuff, like being in that actually is probably more important to somebody being recruited than the actual fluff that happens on OVs. OVs are important, but you got to know how guys do business. I think Rule is so he said to Christian, he said, listen, take your visits. Shoot, take 5 if you want. But just make sure you go to practices and ask the questions that you want answered so you can feel good in your own heart on how people do their day-to-day. He's like recommending to guys to hang around other players, to ask questions at practice. Don't just do the official visit thing where you may not get a good sense. That's supreme security in your product.
Yeah, I mean that's just someone who's really comfortable with who he is. He's comfortable with what he's building, and I think it also shows you he wants guys who have done their due diligence, because that way they don't have the doubt that pops up into their mind 2 seconds into arriving at campus.
Yeah.
May or may not have been what I did when I went to South Dakota State, and your parents drop you off and you're sitting in your dorm room. You're like, oh God, I made a mistake. Like you don't want that. You want to be able to have everything else out of their mind, so that when they get there, they're focused on football. They know what they're doing. They have a familiarity with how things work. They're comfortable with the people that they're going to be around. And ultimately, it doesn't do you any good to pull the wool over someone's eyes and then do a bait and switch on them when they arrive. Like I think you really want these guys to know what they're going to experience. And then the big part about the official visit conversation is it's usually the second, third, sometimes fourth, fifth visit for players anymore. And that's almost by design by coaching staffs. They very rarely want someone to come in for their first visit to be the official visit, because it's a lot harder to utilize that to show you, what a realistic time in Lincoln is, what a normal day in Lincoln is. So I continue to think official visits, they have a lot of value because the staff can pay for them, but they tend to be, they tend to have a little less value than that first time you get somebody on campus. I mean, that first time they get to experience what you have going on. And so you can kind of see Nebraska like to build where they have, 3-4 guys coming in at once. So there's other guys around that can kind of experience it. You can talk to other recruits and see what they're thinking. They can tell other recruits like, oh yeah, I was at, the Stanford practice and it had no energy at all. Or I was over here and, the coach didn't spend any time with you let guys talk to each other. You're going to see, and if you believe in your own product, they're going to speak highly of what you're doing. And that's going to reinforce what you're doing without having to put any effort into it.
Schaefer, we were talking before you came on here about position groups, and we started with running backs. DB has had a chance, obviously, with the coaches clinic to see a little bit with the open practices as well. But just from what you know about the guys in the group, from what you've heard the coaches say, just kind of looking for a brief summary of, or it doesn't have to be brief. We've got 7 full minutes left with you. Your thoughts, questions, concerns, maybe optimism about the running back group so far through the spring.
If I, just were to summarize running backs at Nebraska for the last 7 years, couldn't you just say wait till October?
It seems to be attrition, doesn't it? Who keeps showing up?
I mean, like, what does it matter how it looks and how it sounds and how it feels in the spring or even in early August? Because by the time you get to October, you have an entirely different picture. A different guy has emerged. You're either on your second, third, fourth individual, or the player that was expected to be the guy didn't, take the ball and run with it, if you will, for a terrible pun. So a lot of it for me, and this is kind of a mentality that I'm just adopting with running back specifically. I guess I don't care. It hasn't been an impact enough position in the last few years for me to spend a lot of time assessing how it's going to go. I don't have a lot of belief in what's currently in the room. It continues to be a spot where I feel like they need to go out and really target, really try to find a difference maker that they haven't had in years. I don't know that, Emmett Johnson is going to be markedly better than Quentin Ives, is going to be markedly better than Maurice Mazuka, who Matt Rule just brought up here recently. I don't know what to make of Gabe Ervin and Ramir Johnson, because your availability is one of your biggest assets of being a player. And so it doesn't matter how good you are in the spring or how great your interviews can be or what you did in 2021. If you can't be available, you can't help the team at hand. So the running back position, and then Dante Dowdell is just a big question mark. And I've heard, a lot about what he hasn't done or what he has done. And none of it, I guess, really matters, because they're going to need someone who's going to have to take the ball. They're going to need more than someone. They're going to need multiple guys. And that position is going to remain in flux, until October. It's kind of like when you wanted to dive into the offensive line or the defensive line last year, and we wanted to say, oh, they're going to be this or they're going to be that. Well, at some point, the analysis is nice, but we need to see actual practical results, because they have to show that they can do it and do it consistently. And so for me, the running back specifically this year, I'm very much in wait and see mode, and whoever emerges at the end of spring, great. We'll see if they can hold on to it in August, and we'll see if they can actually hold on to it when it matters.
If I give you, let's say the top in-state guys, and we'll go with Jones, Lofton, Terry, Carpenter, Vermas, Ziebert, Connor Booth. Is that 8?
That's 6.
Jones, Lofton, Carpenter, Terry, Ziebert, Mooberry, Vermas, Booth. 8.
Yeah, you hadn't said Mooberry yet.
And you've got Vermas in the fold, Terry's in the fold, Booth's in the fold. So that's 3 of the. How likely would it be that Nebraska could sweep?
I don't think it's super likely. I would say maybe 6 out of 8.
6 out of 8 would be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's realistic. I don't know that I would sit here and tell you which ones I don't think they'll end up getting.
I know that I wouldn't take you there, but
I feel like 6 out of 8 seems like it's a real possibility for them. I think that's sort of the percentage they shoot at, and if it's 5, they're going to be fine. If it's 7, they're going to be fine. I think they've offered the guys in the state because they believe in what they can do and how they can help the program. But I don't think there's anyone that they view that they absolutely have to get or the class falls apart without them. I mean, that's their mentality. They're not going to fall 100%. They're not going to fall prey to the conversations that we have had every year since I started covering this, where either Nebraska focuses too much on in-state guys or they don't focus enough on in-state guys. They view them as, what can these players do? Where do their numbers line up? Here's an offer. Join us if you want. If you don't, have a great time. We'll catch you next time.
That's across the board, though, right? That's
well,
not
they
just
seemingly,
that's their mentality.
They seemingly are hard to get, right? I mean, unless you're at Central and they've gone as young as they have locally. Although,
you mean the offers are hard to get?
Yeah.
So, which would took Mooberry a long time to get one?
So I'm kind of along the lines with Shay. Plus, having seen it firsthand, like they're going to offer the guys that they want, and they're going to recruit who they want without really the pressure.
There was guys that they could have taken from last year's cycle that they made the decision not to take. They're not afraid to basically be like, all right, you're an in-state kid, you got a Nebraska offer, we didn't get you. Sorry. The comfort level they have with their recruiting operation it's refreshing. We'll put it that way.
Schaefer, just about a minute and a half here. I know you're not, because you're talking to us, you're not getting a chance to see the spring open period this week, which we greatly appreciate you joining us here this morning. But is there anything as they get into sort of the scrimmage portion of the spring that you're looking forward to hearing about?
It's always line play, I think, right now. Last year I felt like I walked away feeling comfortable about what Nebraska's defensive line was going to be just off of how you would hear them being talked about after some of those open periods and after some of the scrimmages. And there's some interesting, potential lineups on the offensive line, and they've got a good defensive line to go against that can help kind of prepare them. And so I am really intrigued to sort of hear about what that offensive line can do. And then, of course, I think the other thing that's fascinating is the amount of pass catchers, the volume of pass catchers, the range of pass catchers, who emerges from that. I think they're going to be really deep, and I think they could be really fun at wide receiver and a tight end this year, depending on how it goes for the guy getting them the ball.
I'm going to give you some credit here. Well, it may be a little early, but one thing I want you to keep an eye on is you and I had a conversation about this player a long time ago because I think people thought he was going to be good, and he made a lot of people super sick, so he wasn't flying under the radar. But I think you were on him early, really early in the transition process. You know who I think's got a chance to be a star, and sooner rather than later is Van Poppel.
Oh yeah, I was on him from the day that I first talked to him.
From day one. So I'll never forget that conversation we had, man. I'm tempted to give you a lot of credit here. It's a little early.
Fans are gonna love him. They're gonna love him.
But you look like you're gonna be pretty smart.
Sometimes.
That's Mike Schaefer from Husker 24/7. Schaefer, we'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys.
We will be back. 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 will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube here on the Pillar Exterior stage, where we are brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook. College basketball has come to an end, but guess what starts on Thursday that you can also bet on? Little tournament we like to call the Masters.
Yeah, let's go. I'm excited.
We'll do some golf previewing tomorrow, as well as do a recap on Monday. But in between, you can go over to the Warhorse Sportsbook, either the casino in Lincoln or Horseman's Park here in Omaha. See if there's any bets you like. I believe Scotty Scheffler is our favorite. Maybe you're a John Rahm guy like myself. Maybe you want to put a long shot on Tiger, like maybe my guy DB does over here.
I'd love to. I'm cheering so hard.
He needs to make that cut. Let's break that record. Get the cut. 25 straight majors on the cut. But
you know how daunting that is.
It's ridiculous. It's a quarter of a century.
No, especially given how little he's played and how bad he is physically.
He walks around like
it hurts.
A running back from the 60s.
Yeah, like it totally hurts.
But you can go to Warhorse Sportsbook to place your bets, Lincoln or Horseman's Park in Omaha. Warhorse Sportsbook is the place for you. Go to warhorsecasino.com for a full list of details and house rules. Warhorse Sportsbook, no bets, no glory.
Got it on pretty decent authority here, Shane. I think Coach Rule threw the media a bone and let them watch
quarterbacks
team.
Oh,
the first 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So the reports, you know how everybody kind of tweets at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think you'll be getting a lot more from the media portion of, I think, the reports here coming up in the next 30 minutes, because I do think he was going to let them watch a little bit more. Hopefully that doesn't come back to haunt me, but I'm pretty sure that's the plan.
So we will keep an eye on that, and we'll talk to Brian Christopherson tomorrow, see what he saw. We can check in with him. Wanted to
Can I just say one thing real quick?
Absolutely, Shane.
What's
it
up,
is
Shane?
partly your show.
I just wanted to say the number one sporting event I would like to go to is the Masters.
Yeah.
But since I can't go there, I'll probably just go up to Warhorse and just, partake in it that way.
Augusta? I don't know. That'd be cool to go to Augusta. I've put into the lottery before to see if for the tickets. I've done that a couple times. Obviously, I didn't win.
That's not me,
Yeah, I don't know if I would have gone if I had one. But
I'd take a Stanley Cup Finals over the Masters.
You know where I'd go to the Kentucky Derby.
I wouldn't. That's not my thing either.
Yeah, that's more my vibe.
Does it matter the teams playing in the cup?
What's that supposed to mean?
Well, I obviously I obviously would prefer the Pens.
As in, say, you can get a couple of just crap teams.
Hey, so quietly, he's put himself into the MVP discussion, in my opinion.
Yeah,
especially with his run of late. But I don't know, man. It is top 5, man. I mean, you're talking Matthews, McKinnon, McDavid, Crosby, and I'm missing one. Matthews, McKinnon, McDavid. I know Pasta leads in goals.
Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Is it the guy from Tampa Bay?
Yeah, Kucherov.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's the 5.
Yeah,
that's the 5. Thank you, Shane.
You're welcome. I'll be here all week.
It's kind of weird.
Now.
So I was looking up
what's McDavid up to in points? He's got to be like 130 something, isn't he?
I think he's 5 behind.
Is he?
The leader, I think. At least that's the way it was like on Friday or Saturday.
He is sick. You can pull that up for me?
Yeah, I'm
just looking
right
at points leaders.
Yeah, I've got come on, ESPN. Terrible.
Come on, ESPN.
Terrible.
And you just click the old points tab.
I was trying.
I'm going off.
McDavid's at 130. He's 6 behind Kucherov and 3 behind McKinnon.
Okay.
I think one guy in there's got like 6 or 9 games left. I don't know. It's gonna be hard for Connor to get it.
I know.
Kucherov's at 136.
He's probably the leader in the clubhouse.
Kucherov
for the heart. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's tremendous, and it's the one sport where people say the quiet part out loud. It is officiated much different in the playoffs, and everybody knows it. Everybody acknowledges it,
and everybody seems okay with it.
Yep.
And it's been bananas for the last few weeks. Everybody's been scoring goals left and right.
Hey.
I mean, the scoring has just been off the chain.
How about the Western? How about the 4.5 games between? This is in the East between 8th and 2nd, and in the West, a game and a half separates 10th through 6th, and they're going down the stretch.
Yeah, the stretch is going to be.
I mean, the Lakers are a game out from going to 6th place and not being in the play-in game. How about that?
That'd be nice for your.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
no, I don't trust it either. It's not for me.
Yeah, get that thing over with. Well, you're in the same boat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're not getting out of the play-in. The Warriors aren't.
You know what's funny? For as much consternation as you have over that basketball team, it's simple. If Draymond Green plays well, they win.
I don't have any consternation. I don't trust them. I don't think they're that good.
Like
I have
for as maligned as he is, and I'm one of those guys that gives him a hard time about the surefire Hall of Fame thing because it's too easy in the NBA. But
I mean, for the NBA, he is a surefire because
it's too easy. But when he plays well, they win.
Yeah, that's pretty much always been the case.
It's like for all the things that go on with everybody else.
As he gets older, he plays well less. He's gotten a little loopier with his antics and things like it, the ratios have started getting way out of whack with Draymond. And but no, they're more fun to watch this year than they were last year because I hated Jordan Poole so much. But I've always hated Jordan Poole. He was a necessary evil that one year, but
somebody did a cut up TikTok compilation on
he's trash.
I can't believe how many times he's just thrown the ball to the other team.
He's actual garbage.
Like he's thrown the ball to often inbounds or two.
He's so bad.
Do you know how hard that is to do?
Not that hard, apparently, because Jordan Poole does it all the time.
Yeah. You want to do our baseball picks now?
Let's do it next segment. We'll do it because we only got 2 minutes here or 3 minutes here. We'll do it in the next segment.
I don't even recognize what we're doing.
Well,
you guys haven't done your baseball picks yet?
No, because every day we put it on the lineup and we never get to, and I'm not wavering.
It's been like this for like a week.
One of the teams that I picked is off to a pretty shaky start, and I'm still going to stay with it.
Can I just I just want to make a point real quick, and then we'll get off the because we were talking a lot of college basketball today. But I have to say this out loud because I said to you off air about Kentucky.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
In the 25 years before John Calipari was hired, 25 years. So from 2010 all the way back, or 2009 all the way back to 1984. Okay. Kentucky made how many Final Fours?
4
in 25 years. Okay. Not bad. That's fine. That's it's okay.
You'd think it would be more
for a place that can.
Yeah. But okay.
How many do you think they made in the first 6 years of John Calipari's tenure?
4.
6 years at Calipari equal to 25 years without Calipari.
Yeah.
And in that 25 years, only one more national title than Calipari.
2-1, and one of them was by a guy they fired.
Tubby Smith.
Yeah, 98, right?
So,
Hi, Art.
yes, it was 96, 98. They went one with Patino, one with Tubby Smith, which, again, Tubby Smith kind of feels like the Kevin Ollie title. Like, I don't really count it.
So that says a lot why he can walk around in his neighborhood with a dog and a baby stroller.
Because he knows what that job was before he got there.
Yeah, that's a guy that has.
Where's Billy Gillespie coaching right now? Do you know off the top of your head? He's still coaching. He got an extension, actually, just recently.
Gillespie is at. Oh, give me the conference.
I have no idea.
So
I genuinely don't. I'm not being difficult. I would have to guess the SWAC if I just off the top of my head.
Why did I want? No, because I was going to say Morehead State.
It's not Morehead State.
Where's he at?
Tarleton State.
Oh, he's a Tarleton guy.
That's where Billy Gillespie is. You know where Tubby Smith is?
He's not coaching.
Retired. You know where he was until 2 years ago? Got fired from High Point.
Who, by the way, is like top 5 in offensive efficiency.
Yeah, because Al Huss is incredible.
Did you know that?
Yes. Because Al Huss is incredible. Really good at what he does.
You're supposed to be surprised that I knew that.
I mean, I'm pleased that you know that, but I'm not surprised, though. You pay attention to too much stuff.
You wanted to cuss so bad, didn't you?
Never.
You said stuff.
Never. I never swear. I'm just saying.
Cal walks around with that smugness because
with a dog in a stroller because he knows what this job is without him.
Like not a care in the world. Is there anything more Cal?
He is the victim of his own success. His first 10 years at Kentucky were bonkers.
Yeah.
Unreal. Hit a little bit of a skid
That's
there.
the downside of wanting to be your own benchmark, which is what most of us aspire to do.
Most of us, yeah. John Calipari did it, and guess what? He's going to go get paid to Arkansas, which is a little bit better job than Tarleton State.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Wrapping up the show here on a Tuesday, AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. It's Hurrdat Sports Radio, live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's the beat. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're here at the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill on the Pillar Exterior stage. And we're going to get to something we've been trying to get to for a couple weeks now. It's our MLB picks. Don't worry that we're already, several games into the season. Doesn't matter.
Well, I don't think anybody's played more than – has anybody played more than 11?
I think 11 is – so, I mean, you're talking about 1/16 of the season here. We're fine.
That's fast math. I'm good at numbers, but that's amazing.
I just guessed. I don't know. That might be right. It's close. 10 games is 1/16. So, yeah, we're in the neighborhood. So you got everybody between like 9, 10, 11 games. Oh, no. San Diego played 13 because they had the Korea.
They had
the Korea series.
The Seoul and Seoul?
Yeah, with the Dodgers. So you got a couple at 13. Everybody else is at
which started the catalyst of everybody hating on your boy Ohtani. Boy, some of the conspiracy.
How's he my boy?
Because he's not mine.
So since he's not your guy, he becomes my guy.
I at least like him for dislike him for legitimate reasons. Now people are just making up stuff not to like. I mean, who doesn't have?
So since I don't like Hurley, he's your guy?
No. No, but I do. This is going to sound dumb, and I don't want to get back on the Hurley thing, but like I would go have a ginger ale with Hurley just because there's something about those guys that I admire, and it's not because they can cuss at the student section because I don't even cuss.
Yeah,
it's just I like competitive people that tell you the truth, right? And so because that's the only way you can really function. There's just no guesswork. So at least I have a sense of God. I could be around this person or I can't. I just hate the back and forth. You know what I mean? So
that's fine, but I can appreciate that and still say, hey, if this is who you are, then that's great.
No, that's cool.
But I can still think you're an a-hole.
It's good.
Like just because, hey, you're authentic. Like I can still think you're authentically an a-hole.
Listen, I've sat in like real defensive meetings.
Yeah.
With staffs that are gonna have my kid that are completely different than me. Like I don't.
That's fine.
I'm not I'm not doing any of that.
Yeah,
right?
That's fine.
And I'm like, yeah, what he said. Do you know what I mean? So it's more reflection of me. Like there are just some qualities that I want in other people, and it's not the fact that they can cuss or not, because I'm not saying that says anything.
And
about
I really don't care about the swearing.
What I'm saying is, well, apparently you do, because if he'd have turned around to the fan base and said, "Hey, I hope you have a rotten day," you wouldn't have near as big of a problem.
If he said it with the same vitriol as he did the other thing, I would have the same problem.
Hey, have a nice day.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I'd have the same issue. It's how he acts, not what he says.
Okay. So, but there are things that I want in that room of people talking to.
That's fine.
My kid that I know he's going to be better for in the long run.
Sure, that's fine. And maybe
he can get the mushy stuff from his dad. Listen. I told Coach Coop was like, man, you need to be around more. Like, this is good stuff. Because, we'll just talk football and stuff. And I was like, nah, I said, I'm trying to be around less, especially working here. And he's like, listen, I'm not talking about your kid. I got that. You don't have to say another word to him. I'm talking about from a work football stuff. I was like, wow, really? Like, you're 20 years younger than me. But anyway,
like, don't worry about it. I got it.
Hey, didn't bat an eye.
I'm just saying.
He's like, nah, I'm not talking about talking to your kid. I got this. You don't have to say another word to him. Is that right?
Oh, I see. Let's get into our baseball picks here. My Boston Red Sox currently have the second best run differential in the MLB, which is nice.
What are the Guardians up to?
36.
Is it leading the league?
Yep.
So I've been paying. I told you it's weird because it was only 6 games in.
Yeah.
But they're already plus 20.
Yeah. The next closest is the Red Sox, 10 back from that. They're plus 26.
Hey, by the way.
So Shane, I got into this last week. I said, I know this is a small sample size, but you guys don't understand how
it's a little weird.
And at the time, they were in second place.
Yeah, and they hadn't really started scoring yet either.
I'm like, 20 already?
Yeah. What's up, Shane?
There's a lot of time left in this segment, so I mean, you can veer off into something else before you get to your picks if you want to.
No, man, we got to talk. We got a lot of things to discuss.
All right, let's do division winners right now.
Do it.
Little Cherokee Rider.
Division AL East.
No, I forgot. Oh, I went with the Yankees.
I went Orioles. They're off to a little bit of a slow start, but that's okay.
No. See,
I'm not.
I gotta go back to my. I gotta go back to my.
I'm not gonna change.
Oh.
Yeah, you did have the O's. We both have the Orioles.
I got the Orioles. Okay. We made me forget.
AL Central.
I took the Twins.
I took the Guardians.
Gosh, I wanted to.
I don't trust the Twins because they're the Twins.
I don't like,
even though they were good last year.
The Guardians staff.
I don't like anybody in that division. I think that I don't. I just look at them. Don't like anybody in that division.
But then I watched the Twins offense so far. I'm like, this is gonna be
it might be a long year. Might be a long year.
Well, how's Cleveland gonna get anybody out?
That's a fair question. I have no idea.
I mean, Bieber he's on the shelf now.
They might not get anybody out, but that'll get them through the regular season.
Okay.
They're probably not going to win anything once they get there, but
cool.
AL West.
Yeah, I struggled here. By far the hardest division.
I went Astros.
I did too.
And I don't feel good about it now.
That's the team I said that I took on pedigree.
Yeah.
Even though who's the biggest Mariners? Dude,
I
had the Mariners in the World Series and I had the Rangers in the playoffs. So I'm a definite other than the Astros honk.
Yeah.
It's just that the Astros just keep doing Astros things.
Yeah.
See you later.
Rough start for them so far, but
I'm staying with the Astros.
I went Astros. NL East.
Braves.
I went Braves. Yeah, I mean, it's the Braves.
Well, I wouldn't have fought you if you'd have said the Phillies.
Yeah, but I mean,
you expect Trey Turner. Some of those guys are going to bounce back.
You would think so. Trey Turner played well at the end of last year, though.
Yeah, that wasn't the Trey Turner that they acquired from the Dodgers, though.
No.
And I was like, thank you, sweet baby Jesus. Because if he pulled a Seager, who was like my heart.
Yeah.
Ugh.
A little heartbroken.
Dude, he made a play the other night in their Powder Blues. I think it was Sunday night. It was such a seamless pick backhanded. And I was like, thank you, dear baby Jesus. Troy Story could never do that because he could barely bend at the waist. Trevor Story, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, don't worry. He's not going to have to make any plays like that because he's on the DL again. Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
You're on TikTok too much. Stop it. NL Central. You went Cards here, didn't you?
I did.
I went Cubbies.
Again,
their
meltdown last night was inexplicable.
Last place and second to last place. So our picks are killing it.
Yeah, but there's only how many? So what is it? 3 or 4? How many? What's the differential?
It's 2 games for the Cubs, 4 games for the Cardinals.
The Cardinals got to figure out some how to score.
Yeah, they got to figure out a little bit. That also
what's their run differential?
-7. Yeah. So the Cubs are plus 15, so they should be by run differential. They're second in that division, so I feel okay about. I think they'll be fine. NL West.
Dodgers.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You spent $1 billion on a roster.
Who's your wild cards in the AL?
AL wild cards. I picked the Red Sox because I'm a homer. I don't think they're very good. Yankees.
You got one more.
And I went Rangers on the.
I went Yankees, Rangers, Rays.
Yeah, Rays. I should have gone Rays, but I'm a homer, so I went Red Sox.
Yeah.
I don't think the Red Sox are going to make. I know they started pretty good.
It didn't come down to. I wanted to include the Mariners.
I like the Mariners, but after last year, I was like, I just don't know if they're.
Is Castillo going to be good again, or is that just me?
I don't know. I don't know.
2 years ago seems like a long time.
It does. The time gets away from you. It really does. NL wild cards.
This was hard.
I got Philly.
As do I.
That was my no-brainer. I had the D-backs, which I don't feel great about. They're mine now. And then I actually went Brewers.
That would, if if the Brewers make the playoffs,
Yeah.
this would be one of the. I'm not going to say all time because people have gone last to first before, but it would be unprecedented.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're the clear cut the easiest team to pick of a team that was in the playoffs a year ago that wouldn't return.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't.
No Burns, no Woodruff, no Counsell.
I didn't like anybody else.
Williams is on the shelf. I thought you may go 3 teams from the West.
Well, I definitely was going to go Phillies. That was a no question for me. I liked the Diamondbacks because I thought they were going to get better this year. They were really young. They obviously made the World Series run. I think they're, I haven't started great, but I still think they've got a lot of the same pieces that I like moving forward. And then I don't know. I'm looking at everybody else. I picked the Cubs to obviously win the Central. I'm not going to pick the Pirates, although they're 9-2, so who knows? But I just don't like anybody else. I don't like anybody else in the NL.
I'll say this about Pittsburgh. If that staff stays healthy, I kind of got a lot of young guns.
Yeah.
And Skeens isn't even there yet. They've got a chance.
I do have a
Jones and those guys.
Little bit of I have got a little bit of an obsession with the 2 cruises in the Central, O'Neill and Ellie De La. I'm a little bit.
Did you see what he went home to home?
Yeah, 14.96.
Yeah, or 14.69, one of the two.
Yeah, but under.
Yeah,
15.
I think it was 9. Yeah.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Dude, he was gliding.
That's stupid. He's so fast and so big. He's tall.
I know. It's weird.
Like his strides are so
It's weird to see those
long.
rangy guys bend over to pick up balls.
Well, or like O'Neill Cruz for the Pirates. He's 6'7".
I know.
But we're starting to see some of those guys.
Athleticism.
And the freaky guys that we saw in basketball, it's like, why is that 6'11" guy dribbling the ball like he's a point guard? Now all of a sudden we're like, hey, why is that 6'7" guy playing shortstop like he's 6'1"?
I know.
It's weird.
I don't think I'll ever see Cooper Flagg bend over and pick up a ground ball, but
it's
weird like that.
Do you remember when? Oh God, what was his name? When Ripken was a shortstop there, he's too big. He's like 6'3".
And who are 2 of the guys that we just referenced are big,
Story
and my guy with the Rangers, my man crush.
Oh,
Dodgers.
Seager.
Yeah. He's big guys.
Big dudes. Let's go World Series real quick.
I've got the Braves and the Orioles.
I've got Braves and Rangers.
It's your Cy Young.
Who did I have for Cy Young?
I went Burns and Wheeler.
I had Burns. I don't remember who my other guy was.
In the National League?
Yeah. Can't find him.
It's all right. We got tomorrow.
We got close enough. Hey, we made some baseball picks today. That's something. That's DB. I'm Ravi. We'll be back tomorrow.